Let's go. Good morning, my friends. It's your old pal PeaceLoveMusic with another episode of the Let's Go Good Morning Show, brought to you live by DeOrganized Media in partnership with our excellent friends over at BitcoinLive, Decentralized Broadcasting. It is Friday. We made it through another week, or almost. One more day. We got a lot to do. You guys should be ready to crank. So much happening in our ecosystem, so much happening in the world, and we're here to help you navigate through it all. Friendly reminder, this is a news show. News and information is what we're providing here. Some education, maybe some entertainment, but never financial advice. Always do your own research and never invest money you cannot afford to lose. That being said, I did get the numbers this morning. I know I've been a little bit behind. So much going on. I really can't keep up. It's crazy. But yeah, we're excited to be where we're at. And Bitcoin coming in at 104,590 as a little bit before broadcast. Stacks dropping back down to that 60-cent range, 60.62 cents. Did stick at the number 71 spot by market cap on CoinMarketCap. Fear and Greed Index stayed steady at 48, still in that neutral range. And the top three token gainers on CoinMarketCap for the last 24 hours are IP, OKB, and BCH. Stack STX earned BTC. Programmable Bitcoin for DeFi is here with SBTC. Stacks has fast, low-fee transactions, proof of transfer security, connecting it to the Bitcoin Layer 1 chain, and native Bitcoin rewards. Tell your friends. In the Stacks DeFi world, we have Hermetica offering 10% yield on USDH today with over $5.5 million total value locked in the platform. Check out their fresh new dashboard data over at hermetica.fi. On BitFlow, you can DCA into Bitcoin, Stacks, runes, including the Liquidium LIQ LIC token, and more effortlessly at bitflow.finance. And now you can drop all your meme token pets at the BitFlow barn and earn yield in the pools over at BitFlow. Velar PerpDex is live. Now you can engage in PerpDex trading, stake your Velar, pair your trade Pair your favorite tokens with SBTC. Earn yield and trade all of your favorite tokens on Valar. Protocol is a Bitcoin native DeFi protocol enabling cross-chain swaps, bridging, and payments in BTC. It connects Bitcoin to 20 plus chains. Zest is offering 3.98% on SBTC. That's right. You can earn almost 4% yield on your Bitcoin as SBTC on Stacks over at Zest Protocol. You can also earn 9%, 9.01 on your STSTX. That's a liquid staked Stacks over at Zest. And the highest yield at Zest today is 10.72% on USDA. Over at Stacking DAO, you can earn 8.99% on your STX with liquid STSTX. So you can earn on your STX with STSTX and then earn on your STSTX over at Zest. Double earnings. Or you can just do regular stacking at Stacking DAO with 9.67% native yield in Bitcoin directly, or 8.73% with yield in SBTC. And the top 3 Stacks token gainers on stxtools.io are Leo, Rucoin, and STSTX. It's a great day to be in the Stacks ecosystem. Good opportunity coming on here. What is happening today? As always, we have the whatever morning space with Binta and Friends. I was only in and out of that. I was having some connectivity issues and stuck on some other things, but always a great time chatting with Binta, GP, and the crew. It's a great way to start your day. You get to listen to Binta's smiley voice. I love hearing her every morning, even if it's just for a couple minutes. We have our show Monday through Friday that you're watching right now, 8:30 to 9:30. We bring you the news. We bring in guests. I have a Robin, the founder of Liquidium, coming on to talk with us as soon as I get through the news segment. And GP, I think Rosar's hanging out with us. We'll see who else comes. Mel said she would be here. At 9:30, we do Find to Earn rounds with Xenitron, sponsored by Rue, Leo, Fact Fun, B Pepe, and Flat Earth. And jackpot round sponsored by the game master himself, Xenitron, with a prize in STX. We also have at 10:30 today the SIP call, weekly SIP call. We have Lior and the SIP 31 authors coming on to give us a final rundown of where the SIP stands, what's going on. We had the session 3 of the appointments committee here meetings yesterday. I think we've actually narrowed down a really good group. We're going to talk more about that today. So stay tuned. We got a lot coming at you on our show. There's also, as always, and the longest running Stacks space on X is the Purple Pill Friday with Dan and Brad. And then that's at 5 p.m. this afternoon or evening. At all times Eastern, and 7 p.m. we have DeOrganized nightly with GPSC and Friends, and they will also be doing Friday Find to Earn in the Zest Discord along with the live stream today. We'll talk to GP just to confirm that is tonight. That is what we have on our calendar. Let me just double check the Stacks events calendar real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything on there. Well, I don't think so. View calendar. I think I might be having a loading issue. It's not coming up. I don't think there's anything we missed anyway. I think that's all the stuff going on today. If you have a space, live stream, or event series you want to share with the community, head on over to DeOrganized.media and we can get your account set up. And very soon you'll have self-service options. You can set up your own shows. You can manage that right through the app at DeOrganized.media. In the news, SEC Chair Paul Atkins has withdrawn 14 proposed rules, including those targeting crypto exchanges and AI-powered financial advice tools. The move signals a significant shift toward lighter regulatory oversight, drawing applause from some of the crypto industry who viewed previous proposals as overreach. Critics, however, warn this could open the door to risky practices and less consumer protection. The rollback is seen as a potential catalyst for renewed crypto innovations in the U.S. While the Genius Act marks a step toward federal stable regulations, watchdogs are sounding alarms about omissions. Critics argue that the bill does not apply ethics restrictions to top executive officials, despite reports of Trump family involvement in stablecoin ventures. This has raised eyebrows over potential conflicts of interest, especially given the bill's fast track trajectory towards the House. It doesn't actually have to be in a law for a conflict of interest to exist and fraud to be a crime, because it's a fraud anyway. So this might just be a much ado about nothing, some political posturing, but it could be a big deal. We do want to make sure that, all these things are on the up and up. Arizona is moving closer to adopting legislation that would let the state hold digital assets, including Bitcoin, as part of its reserve strategy. Just another state falling in line with this inevitability. The proposed law would allow the state to custody abandoned digital assets and convert them into crypto reserves. If passed, it could make Arizona the first U.S. state with an official Bitcoin treasury. Someone's going to do it. Cybersecurity startup Project 11 has secured $6 million in funding to develop Bitcoin protections against potential future threats posed by quantum computing. This is important. Investors are backing cryptographic advancements aimed at future-proofing blockchain networks as quantum capabilities advance. While quantum risk remains theoretical today, the funding reflects growing concerns over long-term security. It is an inevitability that that threat will come. I'm very confident it'll get sorted out before we get there, but it definitely needs to be addressed. On June 19th, Bitcoin spot ETFs experienced a net inflow of $31.3 million. That's still, I think, 10 or 11 days now of net inflows, but 31 is a little bit lower. Fidelity led with inflows of 49 million. ETH spot ETF saw a total net outflow. This is the first net outflow on Ethereum in at least a week, I think. 6.4 million in net outflows. Grayscale recorded the highest single day outflow of 11.4 million, followed by Bitwise, which had 2 million in inflows. So most of the net outflows came from ETH, which has been gobbling up Ethereum lately. That is the news. Real quick, just want to shout out my sponsors. That's the wrong one. Just want to shout out my amazing marketing partners we have here. Stacking DAO is the leading liquid staking platform for the Stacks network. Stacking DAO is changing the game by letting users earn up to 10% APY on their STX while keeping their assets liquid. Unlike traditional staking, their unique design means no minimums, and users start earning rewards immediately. So there are zero switching costs when moving from other stacking pools. Plus, you've got options. Choose to get your rewards in STX or SBTC, whatever fits your strategy. Want to start earning yields today? Head over to stackingdao.com and jump in. Stacking DAO is where liquidity meets opportunity, and Bitflow is the top DEX on Stacks, letting you trade native BTC, STX, SBTC, USDC, runes, and more, all in one place by aggregating prices on Alex, Arcadico, and Valar. Recently, Bitflow rolled out flex pools, launching with STX to support liquid staking assets. Soon to come, USDH, SUSDH pools, and we also have the Bitflow barn going on. If you have some of your favorite pet friends, like dogs and cats and kangaroos, maybe even, you can actually head on over to Bitflow and earn some liquidity, earn some yield by providing liquidity over there. So head on over to Bitflow. That is all of the news. Let me bring on the homies. GP, what's up, brother? How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, bro. Happy Friday. Let's go.
Happy Friday. Good morning. Good morning. And I was correct. There is a find to earn. So we have two opportunities for find to earn, fam, today. There's no reason for you not to play. You can do it this morning with us on the morning show, or you got a night show option. Go get it. We got Rosar in the house. Good morning, Rosar. Or is it still kind of night?
What up?
How you doing?
It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. Good to hear from you today. And we have Robin from Liquidium on the show. What up, Robin? How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We've had James a couple times, and I did actually meet you briefly at in Vegas. We were at Jacob's event. I think I saw you at the booth, but there was like mobs of people in that whole area. What an event, huh? Like the Bitcoin Vegas event, especially for Stacks and all of that people in that cool kids corner. You guys were right around the corner from us, and it was like super live. There was lots of people there. It was great. Great meeting you. I met Julian over there. I got a nice T-shirt from James, so I felt really good about it. Love Liquidium. I love what you guys are doing. It's very innovative. Actually, why don't you give a quick overview of what Liquidium does?
Yeah, no, appreciate it. By the way, can you hear me well? I think I'm connected to this.
You sound great. Yep.
Okay, perfect. Yep. Yeah, I'm just a little bit in an empty room, so I don't want there to be an echo.
Well, it's a little spacious, but it's not. You sound okay. We can hear you fine.
Let me actually try. Is that better by any chance or no?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a little less echoey. It's a little softer, but I can turn you up, so it should be fine.
All right. Cool. Yeah. So Liquidium. At Liquidium, we're building like a borrowing and lending protocol. We have been around for a while now. We started with a peer-to-peer lending protocol on Bitcoin, or actually, since this is a Stacks podcast, I'll go way back in history, all the way from the first days of Liquidium. So we actually started as an NFT lending platform on Stacks. So that was kind of like our first entry into the market.
Was it originally branded as Liquidium?
It was originally branded as NFT to loan.
NFT to loan.
Yep, very descriptive.
Well, you gotta let people know what it's there for, right? So
exactly. So I think it was like good for the first 10 people that used it. But so kind of like the whole thing, like the reason why we got into this in the first place is like, I love Bitcoin. I loved programmability. I always wanted to create something as close to Bitcoin as possible. And we actually started this whole journey way back in 2022, beginning of 2022. So like more than 3 years at this point, which is crazy to think about. But kind of like started with an NFT collection on Stacks, or like playing around with NFTs there. And then I quickly realized that like NFTs on Bitcoin, or NFTs as close to Bitcoin as possible, is really cool. I think there is a very valid use case for NFTs to exist. And but then kind of like what we realized, and NFTs were very early on Stacks at that time, that many people had a lot of NFTs in their wallet, a lot of value locked in NFTs, and they didn't have any liquidity in their wallet. Like they had maybe like 20 stacks in their wallet and like $100,000 worth of NFTs.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of this, okay, like what can you do with an NFT? You can buy it and you can sell it, and that's kind of it. And we wanted to change that and make NFTs liquid, or like give accessibility to these assets where you don't have to sell your assets. You can keep holding on to them, but you still have liquidity to play around with. And that's kind of like how this whole idea started. It was right around the time that NFTFi also launched on Ethereum as like the first NFT lending platform. And yeah, so we started the development right around the time that came out. And then basically started this on Stacks, built the first MVP, launched that I think in December of 2022. And then you already know what happened in February of 2023. Ordinals came out. So the white paper of Ordinals was released. I think we read that like 2 or 3 days after it came out. And then we were like, oh, holy shit. This is like NFTs on native Bitcoin. And we always wanted to build as close to Bitcoin as possible. So then kind of fast forward a couple of days, we decided to completely start from scratch and build an NFT lending platform for ordinals, and built that completely on layer 1 Bitcoin. And that's kind of like how Liquidium was born. And then over the course of 2023, we kind of went over multiple iterations, finally landed on sort of this existing peer-to-peer mechanism for ordinal loans, and then also added runes and BRC20 support. And I think then 2024 was kind of like our most successful year, where we really went from basically zero volume to I think by the end of 2024 almost $300 million in volume, and now just crossed 4,200 Bitcoin in volume, almost $500 million, and over 100,000 loans. We actually just crossed 100,000 loans on Liquidium as well, which is huge. And I think it's the first example of a working DeFi protocol purely built on layer 1 Bitcoin. And that was like an amazing accomplishment, I think, for us. We're very happy that there were these like early adopters that helped us from the beginning, gave all of the feedback, and kind of brought us to where we are right now. And this existing product, we have now rebranded to Liquidium WTF, because we all know that ordinals, runes, and BRC20 tokens, it's all memes. It's all about the fun that people have. It's a very much a degen culture and degen audience. So we kind of wanted to double down on that and show that we are like committed to making this thing fun, and kind of like supporting all of these assets. And we're not like with that product, we are in that degen audience. But at the same time, also we rebranded it to make room for something new and something much bigger in my opinion, which is a new product that we have announced in Vegas, which is a cross-chain lending platform with liquidity pool-based lending, essentially. So a market that is massively larger, I think, and addresses a very different audience. So we want to kind of like have both. We want to have that degen piece, which is Liquidium WTF. That's for the degens. That's for the people that want to play around with memes and everything. And then we will have Liquidium cross-chain loans, which is basically for people that want to, for example, borrow USDT on Ethereum against their native Bitcoin or things like that. So I think there is a very, very large audience for these people that want to get liquidity against their Bitcoin even.
Okay, so Liquidium.fi is the more like cross-chain borrow and lend against any asset or cross-chain assets, and that's newer. Liquidium WTF is kind of like the rebrand of the old platform, where it's more ordinals and BRC20 and runes centric.
Exactly. So we kind of like, you can think of it that like Liquidium is kind of this umbrella, this ecosystem of lending tools, and then also like obviously within Liquidium you have the Liquidium token. Liquidium token kind of like governs the whole Liquidium ecosystem, and then Liquidium cross-chain loans is kind of that more sophisticated product that kind of tailors towards potentially institutions, but also people that are not as deep in the weeds as we all are. Like we're obviously familiar with ordinals, runes, and everything. We're early adopters of these new technologies. That's what Liquidium WTF is, and then Liquidium cross-chain loans is, or like Liquidium.fi is the platform that tailors to maybe even your mom if she holds Bitcoin. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of the more broader audience, I would say.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, and it actually does make a lot of sense. Where, like, I think it's a great brand, by the way. I think Liquidium is a like, it fits what you're doing, like kind of still descriptive of what the platform's for, but adds that, you know, that flavor that makes it more digitally, or, you know, DeFi, and you know, just kind of sounds cool with the Liquidium kind of motif. But I think the idea of kind of keeping the same brand, but differentiating with two different platforms, it makes a lot of sense. So I like the design there for sure.
Thank you.
So,
I see a comment here that I want to react on.
yeah,
It is the mullet of Bitcoin Fi, business in the front .fi and party in the back .wtf. I think that fits it extremely well.
yeah. Trippin' Monkey is actually he's part of our crew, and he's very good at bringing out those analogies.
Dude, he's the man for analogy. He will come up with it. Yeah, it's sick, man. I love what you guys are doing with Liquidium. The Bitcoin beach party was sick. Had a bunch of fun there with Rosar. Rosar was DJing. I was his hype man. Yeah, we had a bunch of fun in Vegas, and getting to meet you at the cigar lounge as well was really cool. I had a question. So like, I've been curious about this. Like, how did you and James posted link up?
So we actually, so we were part of the first cohort of what was back then called the Stacks Pre-Accelerator. The Stacks Pre-Accelerator then kind of rebranded into Bitcoin Startup Lab. I think now they rebranded again to Bitcoin and AI Startup Lab. But they were one of the very, very early on incubators within the space. And back when we were in the Stacks Pre-Accelerator, James wasn't part of the team yet. But then basically after we kind of had our first success, I came back to the Bitcoin Startup Lab as a speaker, and kind of like, I guess, giving some learnings from our company, teaching the new cohort a little bit. And at that time, then when I became a speaker at the Bitcoin Startup Lab, James was kind of the main person managing everything there. And we kind of linked up. He is amazing. He organized everything extremely well there, and obviously understood the dynamics of startups and everything extremely well, working in the Bitcoin Startup Lab. And he left the Bitcoin Startup Lab, and then I was just like, "Hey James, why don't you come to us?" And that's kind of like how it all started.
That's solid, man. You can kind of really see James he's a outgoing, very very like a go-getter attitude, right? So I definitely am a fan of James and his style. He's got some style. He's got some swag, right? So like I get that. Like you kind of scouted him. It's like, hey, let's get this going, and now you guys kind of work together and doing cool things on Bitcoin. So like that's fun in its own. So I think that Lick has a pair on Bitflow now, right? LIQ.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it's super interesting. Bitflow, actually, we have been great friends with them from the very early days, basically inception of our companies. If you look at the incorporation date, it should probably be on the same date within a month or so, because we both kind of came from that Stacks Pre-Accelerator cohort. Actually, Bitflow and Liquidium are the two companies that kind of like came out of that cohort, and I think are the ones that are still existing now. So that's amazing. Like these guys are basically our brothers.
Yeah, dude. Diego and Dylan, those guys, man, solid individuals. When I was out at Bitcoin Vegas, like I was, doing the thing, like we're all networking and we're all like kind of getting ourselves out there. And then, I was at one of these events, and then Diego and Dylan were like, "Oh, that's GP?" Like GP called me over, and I was like, "Oh, like that was nice." It's like, dude, somebody recognized me. This is my first Bitcoin conference ever, so it's like it was kind of cool. But they're super solid individuals, man. Really really big fans of what they're doing with Bitflow. And to see that, to hear about the history, kind of like you guys are coming out of the same cohort, and that it's very closely and well integrated. Is awesome, That's solid history there. I love getting to like the background, the lore of things, how things got started. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, good morning, Mel. How are we doing?
Fine, and you?
Good morning, Mel. Melanie, do you know Robin from Liquidium? Are you familiar with Liquidium?
Yeah, definitely. Hey, Robin, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, good. We haven't met personally, but I definitely know Liquidium and I definitely know Robin. Yeah, I've been following you guys from the beginning.
Appreciate it. That's always good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Stacks community feels like home because that's where everything started.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Mel.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, absolutely. I remember the beginning. So yeah, very cool.
Well, my response was, well, of course, it's where you started. But to be honest with you, I feel like the community here is home because it's like family here. Like it really is. The people here are generally here for the right reasons. We're all, we're building here on Bitcoin because we support the Bitcoin ethos, because we support open source development. We support decentralization and permissionless development and trustless interaction and all of that ethos. And so that's why it feels like home, because we are, even though they're not, and not everyone's building towards the same goals exactly, we're all here for the same general reason. We believe in that fundamental ethos. So everything extends off of that. It really does feel like a home base for me. Since I found it, it's just gotten really more and more. There's just so many good people here.
I think what stands out about Stacks as well is, or like the community specifically, is that there is no real chain bias, in the sense that, for example, Liquidium is not building on Stacks right now, right? Like we're not operational on Stacks when it comes to, like, we don't have a smart contract on Stacks. We don't we are on Bitcoin, and still it is sort of like the Stacks community celebrates that because everybody loves Bitcoin. It's not that like,
right,
ooh, we need to be on Solana, we need to be on Ethereum. It's like, no, okay, cool, you're on Bitcoin. Like, we love Bitcoin, so
right.
We're all
there's a lot of cross matriculation between the ordinals communities and the Stacks community too. Like we're not maxis here. We're all looking to make it a better experience and build off of the foundation of Bitcoin, right? And there's lots of ways to do that. There's a lot of ways to do that, and we should celebrate all of them being developed. More options in the marketplace. The Bitcoin ethos is kind of like, it kind of makes Bitcoin maxism be a little bit silly, because it's like, that doesn't jive with decentralization. When it's decentralized, you're going to have multiple solutions, and then the best solution for this facet of the marketplace might not be the exact same best solution for this facet of the marketplace. And so we should have more broad options to serve better efficiency. So yeah, we're like, and you guys are providing a really great, valuable service. Like I'm not huge into ordinals. I am very well integrated into one ordinals community, the Node Rocks community, which is a derivative of the Node Monkeys, and it's just a fun group, right? But I can do more with my Node Rocks now that Liquidium exists. Like, if I really needed to, I could go potentially loan out or borrow against my Node Rocks, get a little bit of liquidity, and maybe buy stacks at 60 cents, or whatever. And that creates more transactional volume. It opens up liquidity, which how economies expand. So it's a huge value add to the ecosystem, having options like that in the marketplace. And actually, you guys are on, because of BitFlow, you guys are on Stacks with the SIP10. There's a SIP10 lit token.
I think definitely. Also, just thinking back to like the early ordinals days, you guys were talking about like the crossover between, like Peace, you mentioned it, the crossover between the Stacks community and the Ordinals community. You know, the early Ordinals community, you know, a massive portion of them were the Stacks community, you know, and we saw that in Stacks art. We saw a huge drop off in the sort of Stacks NFT and Stacks fan art vibes that moved over to, am I echoing somewhere? Am I too loud?
Just a little bit. I don't know where. I'm not sure. It only happened for a second. I think you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, and I was, you know, if you look at like Bitcoin badges, that's Akbar, and he was, so it was like incredible how that merged together. And for me, I don't ever think of like ordinals and stacks as separate. It's so weird. It's not like the same circle, but it's you know, if you saw a circle and things sort of connected off it, I definitely see it as like a very similar part of. So that's why it wasn't strange for me, even when you guys moved to lending, because you also started off with Stacks NFTs, didn't you? Because we could do, I remember the Megaponts and all those days. Do you still do Stacks NFTs?
We don't do Stacks NFTs anymore because like we were a team of basically 3 people for most of the time, which was me, then our CMO Jay, and Pete, our CTO. And Pete was basically the sole developer. I was doing all of the UI design and stuff like that, and kind of like other like business things in the company. And so basically there was no room for us to focus on multiple things at the same time. And I think it was good for us to kind of like get a laser focus on one single thing, which in this case then just became Bitcoin with ordinals. So we kind of like deprecated our Stacks NFT lending platform, although it would be nice to kind of like resurrect that at some point and make it happen again. But to your point, I just wanted to add some comments there. Because I absolutely agree that in the early days, the Stacks community made up a very large chunk of what happened in ordinals and drove forward a lot of the development. And there are many examples of companies still being around that kind of came from Stacks. So to give a few examples, I think OrdinalSpot was one of the first tools that launched on on Bitcoin to basically inscribe ordinals, and they had many success stories with basically even Ordi being minted on OrdinalSpot. I think that's a story that Brian Brafstar loves to share. That kind of the first BRC20 token was happening through OrdinalSpot and so on. He used to do Satoshables, which was a collection that he brought from Ethereum to Stacks. And then he also...
Yeah, I remember that. I bought, sorry to interrupt you, but I bought, my first connection with Brian was buying a Satoshable on Ethereum. Nice. Isn't that crazy? It's like gone, and I went with him from Ethereum to Stacks to Ordinals. It's been crazy. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, so he did Satoshables on Stacks. He worked for NeoSwap actually for a long time, which is a Stacks company, and then kind of like ultimately then built OrdinalSpot on Bitcoin. So he was one of the very early people in the ordinal space, one of probably the first tool that was for ordinals, came from Stacks. Then Xverse was one of the first major wallets in the ordinals ecosystem, and today obviously probably the most famous and loved wallet in the space, came from Stacks. I know that I had conversations with the team at Gamma when we originally then moved to Stacks, and I kind of told Gamma like, hey, we are trying to build a lending protocol on Bitcoin with ordinals, but there are no marketplaces right now. Like everybody was just trading on Google spreadsheets at that time. And I told him, or I told them that I think I talked to Eli, and I said like, we need a marketplace because we need floor prices that we can get from an API. Otherwise, we need to take floor prices from a Google spreadsheet, which is definitely not secure and decentralized. So I kind of told Eli to build a marketplace on for ordinals, and I think they were already discussing it internally in the team, and then also launched pretty much the first really good ordinals marketplace on Bitcoin and so on. So there is a huge Stacks community, and so many things that are existing on Bitcoin with ordinals and BRC20 and everything right now are coming actually from Stacks.
So cool, such amazing memories. Just like I can't stop smiling, just like thinking about this journey and all these things that happened. And trading in the early days on Sparrow, I've still got ordinals in Sparrow that I'm too scared to send
I
anywhere.
lost the seed phrase.
I've got about 10 ordinals in Sparrow.
Yeah, I lost the seed phrase
Just
from
leave-
Sparrow, and I'm still desperately trying to find it. And I had some like very early ordinals on there. I inscribed just the word Liquidium, and I tried to aim for the 100,000 inscription. I think I made it to like 99,976 or something like that. You can look it up, it's on chain. And I lost the seed phrase to that Liquidium inscription. But it doesn't matter because it's on chain forever. So
yeah, that's a grail too. If you ever find that like sub 100K and then like Liquidium, that's not only is it a grail, but it's like a nostalgia thing, right? It's on chain forever, but like that'd be such like a huge like piece. Like, here, this is my proof of early. This is like how innovative and ahead of the curve, you know, you were when you were thinking of Liquidium, right? Like, so did Liquidium you already had the name set for Liquidium. Like, how did you come up with the name Liquidium? It's like Peace touched on that. It's such a great name, such a great brand for what you guys do. How did you guys come up with the name?
So I wish I had a better story, but it was a combination of human effort and AI.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
So we actually like I think we spent like a lot of time trying to find a new name because NFT2Loan just didn't make it for us, so we kind of like, I think when did ChatGPT even come out? It was probably right around that time. I know I used to use GPT-2, which was like kind of like 2 versions before ChatGPT came out. So GPT-2 was the first model that actually gave you somewhat of a reasonable response, but you had to use it via API or in their like sandbox, which was kind of bad user experience. And then with GPT 3.5, they launched ChatGPT, so that when ChatGPT came out, like I basically just didn't leave ChatGPT ever. Spent like 10 hours a day on that thing, and I was like, okay, we're looking for a new name. Let's just try AI, and then we had some ideas and kind of like threw them in there, and then I think we generated like probably 1,000 names, went through all of them, and then Liquidium was kind of the best ones. I think we had like a lot of very similar names like Liquidio or Liquidity, but that already exists. And then Liquidium was kind of the one that sounded pretty cool in my opinion, and described extremely well what we're trying to do, which is building the liquidity rails for the existing assets and essentially providing liquidity to the ecosystem.
I think you nailed it, man. I think that was a solid answer, honestly. Like, showing that you were kind of early to ChatGPT, using it before it was like it had a really good user interface, right? Like you had to use some APIs to get access to it, right? And then you found the name using the cutting edge technology, right? When it was early. So I think that was a solid answer, bro. So I guess my next question is like, I think it would be really cool, like a use case. Peace was talking about like borrowing against his node rocks and then like using that BTC to swap into SDX and stuff like that. Like, makes one thing come to mind to me is like, yo, like
not financial advice.
Not financial advice. Right, of course, you got to throw that
Nice
out
hat, Michael, by the way.
Yeah, I wanted to say that right now too.
Oh, he's got the liquidity bucket hat. Let's go.
I'm jealous. All I got was a T-shirt and a little stuffy from James. I didn't get the cap.
I got this from James.
You better.
What's a stuffy?
Hold on, I have it right here.
Is it?
I thought this was all financial advice. Was I
Depending on how
It's totally financial advice. A financial advice for those people who want to jump into the
I
deep
didn't take it
end.
out of the bag because I want to preserve it, but I got one of these.
Oh, that's
Let's go.
Be jealous.
I want that. What does it even mean? What? Show me it again.
It's his it's James's collection. He has an ordinal.
No, this is actually Quid. So this is our mascot, like the brand mascot for Liquidium WTF. It's still quite new. I think people still need to get familiar with it, but it's like if you go, for example, to liquidium.wtf and then scroll down a little bit, you can see like Quid holding the mock-ups of the website and everything. It's kind of like, I guess, to put a little bit of a little cute mascot to the brand, make it a little bit more personable, and it's also nice for like just creating content like GIFs and so on. Exactly, there you have it.
Oh, sick! Yeah, dude.
Oh my god, it's so cute.
Oh, it's really good.
Oh, I love it, and I love it that it's a little girl.
Yeah,
That you must be
Hey,
the
don't assume.
only.
It's gender neutral.
Listen, that's right. And so to a boy, it's going to be a boy, and to a girl, it's going to be a girl.
Exactly.
That is totally. So who cares? To me, it looks like the cutest little thing ever. I love it.
It's very cool.
So Quid is the name, right?
Quid is the name, yeah.
I'm still jealous about Mike's hat, though. I think it's I like
into characters, right? Like I'm an NFT artist, so like it's like I like making different characters for the SIP10 assets within the Stacks ecosystem and stuff. And that is a really good character for
Appreciate it.
And that's nice. And the name, you guys are crushing it. But like back to the use case I was thinking of is maybe borrowing Bitcoin and then being able to like swap into other tokens from Liquidium. Like you wanted exposure. You said like you were like with Liquidium you're kind of doing cross chain stuff. So like I would love to just have like a button there where it'd be like, here, I want to borrow against my ordinal and swap into.
You could even just be bullish. You could even be just speculating that Bitcoin's going to go up relative to the price of your ordinals. Borrow some Bitcoin, speculate the price increase, and then pay off your loan when the Bitcoin value goes up.
Could you ever?
Does that work? Does that work? Or are you paying it back?
I wanted to. This is a good thought. Because the loans are determined in Bitcoin, so it wouldn't really.
You can't speculate on Bitcoin with them.
Well, yeah, because like for example, if you're borrowing 1 Bitcoin, you need to repay 1 Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes up in value, then you don't really profit from that.
So if you're speculating Bitcoin's going to go down in value,
you could do that. Yeah. Exactly. Or like I guess just so I can talk about the various use cases that we see most of the people using Liquidium for. So let's just talk about Liquidium WTF first, because that's what has been around for the longest time. So there, basically, you have mainly 2 types of borrowers and then 2 types of lenders. Borrower is referring to people that are borrowing Bitcoin against their assets, and lenders being referred to as the people that are lending out their Bitcoin to earn interest on their Bitcoin. So on the borrower side, you have people that are trying to leverage, essentially. So one very, very good example is if there is a new mint coming up, let's say, for example, Taproot Wizards is minting or something like that, and now the mint price is 0.2 Bitcoin, which is quite steep, and there is many pieces in that collection, and you already have a portfolio of many ordinals, like let's say you have a couple OMBs, you have a couple Node Monkeys, a couple Puppets, whatever, and you want to buy the mint of Taproot Wizards, but you don't have enough liquidity in your wallet. what many people would do now is, instead of selling their existing assets like OMBs, puppets, and node monkeys, because they want to preserve them, they might borrow against their OMBs and so on, get that liquidity, use that liquidity to buy the mint, and then if the price goes up after the mint, now they sell that and that ordinal at a profit, and then they maybe they keep one, but now they can repay all of the loans that they took. They have an extra Taproot wizard, and they have all of their existing ordinals as well. So that's kind of like one use case, and we see that a lot. Like if a big mint is coming up, we see borrowing volume increasing a lot, because many people just want to get that liquidity in to participate in the mint, maybe flip some at a profit and keep one or two.
That makes a lot of sense, because that's a great use case directly for your audience.
Exactly.
They want to mint more. They need the liquidity for that specifically. It's less of a speculation than just an ability to actually mint the next stuff.
Yeah. So that's 100%. That it basically people seeing an opportunity somewhere, and then they don't want to sell their existing assets, but they need liquidity to get into that opportunity. Another opportunity would be, for example, let's say there is some rune that is right now like rock bottom, and you think like that's going to shoot up in the next couple of days. Maybe you heard some alpha here or there or whatever. So then you just want to put as much liquidity, as much Bitcoin into that rune, because you anticipate the pump. You buy that, and then you sell at a profit. You repay your loans, maybe keep some tokens or whatever, or sell all of them and just made that profit. And then usually that offsets the interest that you have to pay, because most of the time, if you see a good opportunity and you take it, your profits might outweigh the interest. Obviously, no financial advice here. Everybody should do informed decisions, but I would say that most people that are using Liquidium are using it responsibly.
Right, and we understand, like, we have to say that for specific purposes, but we also need to be able to talk about these things to understand how the platform works. I mean, that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, you always want to do your own research and never invest money you can not afford to lose, or don't borrow against ordinals that you really love. Maybe,
could you use it like an ordinal pawn shop?
Well, if you want to call it that, it is kind of like an ordinal pawn shop. Yeah, exactly. Like you give that ordinal away, you lock that ordinal away for 14 days, for example. You get money for these 14 days, and then as long as you repay the money, you get back your ordinal. That's exactly how it works. And that's also, I think we had that a question earlier. Is there any chance of liquidation or something like that? So in this system that we have, because it's purely a peer-to-peer loan, that means it's one borrower and one lender. Basically, lenders are creating loan offers. So for example, I would maybe put in a couple of offers where I say, hey, OMB is currently at a price of 0.1 Bitcoin. I'm willing to lend 0.08 Bitcoin against OMBs. I don't care which OMB it is. I'm just putting out these loan offers because I would totally buy an OMB for 0.08 Bitcoin, for example. And then so that's basically lenders creating offers, and then borrowers can kind of like take these offers, give away their OMB, get the money, and then as long as they repay, they get back their money. And then there is a time limit to that. So a loan might be like 14 days, 30 days, 7 days, something like that. And the only condition is if the borrower repays the loan amount plus interest within that time, they will get back the collateral. And if they do not repay, they will lose the collateral, and the lender will get the collateral instead. So it's basically a binary outcome. It's either you repay, get back your collateral, or you don't repay and don't get back your collateral, but you get to keep the money from the loan. And that's I guess a good introduction into the second party of borrowers that we have. So one party is people leveraging to buy into opportunities, and the other party of borrowers is people that are actually hedging their ordinals. Might sound a little bit more complex, but because of the system that it works with this binary outcome, either you keep or you lose, you are basically locking in a like a stop loss almost, or like a minimum value of the yeah, that's a good animation right there. You're basically locking in a like a price that you want to sell your ordinal at a minimum. So for example, let's say I have an ordinal and it's currently worth 1 Bitcoin. And now I'm borrowing, or like for example, I bought an ordinal at 0.1 Bitcoin. Now it's worth 1 Bitcoin. So I already made a 10x on my ordinal, and I'm worried that the bubble might burst, right? That the price will go down again. So now basically, instead of selling the ordinal at 1 Bitcoin, because it could go up to 2 Bitcoin, for example, instead of selling it at 1 Bitcoin, I'm just borrowing, for example, 0.8 Bitcoin against my ordinal. And now if the price goes further up, I will just repay the loan and keep the ordinal. And if the price goes down and goes below 0.8 Bitcoin, now I will just sell that ordinal. Now I will not repay the loan, and basically I still locked in 0.8 Bitcoin for that ordinal. So it's kind of like people that are kind of like de-risking their positions. They might take loans against their ordinals when they are valued extremely high, because now they can still decide later on if they want to keep that ordinal or if they want to lose it and just keep the money that they borrowed, essentially. So that's what a lot of people do as well, and that has been a great way to like de-risk positions in the past. I know many people that kind of like did that in the days where ordinals were extremely high, where OMB was almost at 1 Bitcoin. And at the end of the day, now they are very well off because they kind of like cashed out early without having the risk of the NFT still exploding to the upside. So yeah, that's kind of like the
one
yeah.
kind of so we're about to transition into our Find to Earn segment where we have Xenitron come on and we play some Find to Earn rounds, and you're welcome to stay. You're not obligated to stay. We'd love to have you hang out and play, but if you're not able to, that's cool. But I wanted to ask you, what is a typical default rate you guys are seeing on those kind of like peer-to-peer loans?
Yeah, it really depends on the market conditions. So we are fully transparent with all of our data. You can go to Dune Analytics and then see like the Liquidium data. The default rate really varies based on the market condition. So there are times where the default rate is almost zero, because just the market is good, everything is going up. And then if the market is going down, obviously people won't repay if they are in a loss, or like if the loan amount is less than the value of the ordinal, then there is no incentive for the borrower to repay. So I would say like default rates on average vary between like 5 and 15%. So maybe like 10% default rate is a good average.
Yeah, and that doesn't sound like that sounds reasonable for what you're dealing with. Like just general peer-to-peer lending is a hard nut to crack. Actually, it's really impressive that you guys were able to do that.
Appreciate it. And then obviously from the lender side, you like the lenders are earning extremely high interest rate. That's kind of like how lenders justify, I guess, lending, because you might get like 200% interest on your Bitcoin by being a lender. And then many lenders are basically just playing the game by saying, hey, my loan offer is basically what I would buy the ordinal for. So I'm almost placing a buy offer. And I'm also like, and now either I get the ordinal for the buy offer that I put, or I get interest. So it's kind of like, even for collectors who just want to get more ordinals, they're often lending because they hope that people basically default on them, and then they get the ordinal instead of the money back.
I was talking to Stacks at the Bitcoin conference because someone suggested, I think it was Eric suggested semi-fungible tokens, and someone else suggested ordinals for commercial real estate, right? Pair real world real estate with on-chain real estate.
Yep.
And so this whole discussion about, lending ordinals and things like that, imagine it's a commercial real estate property. Or
You mean like
that.
using ordinals for like title ownership?
Yeah, because from what I understand, ordinal represents an ownership of a small piece of real estate on the Bitcoin blockchain. So I might use the similar analogies.
Yeah, this is something that I have thought about as well. I don't know if we have time, but I can tell a little bit story about that.
We can definitely as long as Zenny doesn't mind and he says no worries, he is dead. He's coming from the underworld, so he's got time. We can talk. Let's bring him in now. Let's bring him up. We won't do the dramatic entrance. Zenny, well,
GM Morthos, GM everyone. Yeah, you can continue discussion. We just play.
Yeah, perfect.
All right, cool. Yeah, so I guess last story for the day from my end. So about the real estate thing, or like real world assets. So I actually thought about this a lot because at that time we kind of worked on the ordinal lending platform. I was in El Salvador and enjoyed paying in Bitcoin everywhere and kind of like seeing how open the people are to Bitcoin and everything. And then also while I was there, I noticed that there is still a lot of like corruption going on when it comes to land ownership. So for example, one person was telling me a story how her family had a property basically where a street was built, and then she was offered like, I don't know, $10,000 to remove or relocate. But then she said no, and then they just ended up like taking away her house and like giving her nothing, which is pretty crazy. But like that kind of brought me to think like, okay, it would be nice if real estate ownership would also be on chain and verifiable. And an NFT or an ordinal is nothing but a digital certificate of ownership that everybody can see and verify on the blockchain. And you can see exactly who it belongs to by seeing which wallet it is in. And you can also see the origin because you can see who minted the NFT or the ordinal. So for example, if you have a government that is maybe not corrupt and they say like, okay, we are well, in the perfect world, if they say like, okay, we want to be transparent about it. Now, like going forward, the government is issuing land plots or land ownership in the form of a ordinal or something like that. An ordinal would probably be the best option because it's the most decentralized and secure. You could verify that it's officially coming from the government and the person that has this in their wallet is the owner of it. And then you could obviously borrow against that on Liquidium, theoretically, because it's an ordinal that represents the ownership. And I can do that fully on chain. Basically, I can just, if I have a plot of land in El Salvador, I could just borrow against it on Liquidium. Somebody from somewhere else in the world could give me money for it. If I don't repay that loan, somebody else gets my land. Because as soon as they get the ordinal, they basically are the owner of that plot of land. So that's kind of like a perfect use case for the future if we ever get to governments that allow for NFTs or ordinals as actual pieces of ownership that represent land. And actually, I just also became a citizen or like a resident of the island of Palau, which is, are you familiar with Palau?
Palau ID.
Yeah, I got a Palau ID. Palau is a tiny island next to the Philippines, and they offer digital residencies, it's called. And they not only give you a physical ID, but they also give you an ID, a state-issued ID in the form of an NFT, which means you literally have your ID in the form of an NFT in your wallet. And now, for example, if I go to an exchange and I want to do KYC there, I can just connect my wallet to that exchange and that does my KYC. Because I am the owner of my wallet, I can connect my wallet to that exchange, it verifies my identity, cool. No need for like face scan and whatever.
That's so solid, dude. Yeah, you have like.
I would love to keep this conversation going while we're playing the game rounds, if you don't mind. Like we just launched the game round. The natives are getting restless. I see the treasure hunters are all commenting in the live chat. So if you don't mind, let's real quick. We're gonna launch the first game, and then we'll get back because I love this conversation. By the way, I'm a realtor in real life. Michael's been working on some stuff with commercializing, tokenizing real world assets for real estate. So this is an awesome.
I flip property in real life as well. I buy and sell houses, renovate them.
Such a crazy concept, and like, congrats on getting your Palau ID, Robin. Seriously, I know it's.
I want that.
So what do you need to qualify for a Palau ID?
$250 a
How?
$250 a year.
What is it? Palau? PAL?
Is it? I think it's
AU.
Yeah.
That's it.
By the way, look up Palau on Google Images. It's such a beautiful island. Like, if you just go to Google Images,
we have to do some game rounds in Palau.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Like, digital.
Let's go.
RNS.id.
All right, so really quick, let's get the next game round, the first game round started. We have 5 rounds plus the jackpot round. We have the first round is a whitelist round for new players that haven't won more than 1 or 2 at most rounds, giving them an opportunity to play. The rounds will be launched on Skullcoin BTC X account, and we are waiting for the countdown. Michael's going to share his screen and show us all how to play. The first rule is you must like and repost the live stream, and then you're waiting on the Skullcoin BTC account for the game to launch, and we will have a countdown shortly. Zenny, are you ready to launch the first game?
Yeah, let's go. Countdown and we start.
Who's going to do the countdown? All right.
Let's go.
We're getting the Southern Bell?
The Southern.
No, we're getting an extra special dedication to Robin, and it is LIQUIDIUM. Let's go.
Liquidium
Okay, the
countdown.
game is on. Let's go. We
Let's
have
go.
funny games today. Let's go.
Yeah.
First game is a flat earth.
For the flat earth.
Guys, make sure you like and share the live stream.
Big shout out to Silky Boy.
Know how this works, Robin?
I don't.
Yeah,
So, actually, go ahead, GP.
Yeah, so Find to Earn is a really innovative game that we have here in the Stack ecosystem, created by Xenitron, that uses encrypted NFT. On one side, you're able to see location if you own the ID, the NFT, and on the other side, others see it's hidden. It hides the information. You have to own certain pieces to the puzzle to find a location on Google Maps to win a prize. So
You
it's
can
really-
just explain Find to Earn, because like we playing Find to Earn, it's complicated to explain like the different tech. Like Find to Earn is just fair competition. You have to find location. That's just for the show, for onboarding. It's very simple concept, yeah.
Right. Basically, there's a starting location, and you're going to find an image in Google Maps. And when the first person that finds the proper image in Google Maps and posts the link wins the round for the prize for the round, or the treasure. They found the treasure. And our prizes are sponsored by some of the outstanding meme coin communities on Stacks. So this round is sponsored by Flat Earth. We have Rue, we have Leo, we have Bitcoin Pepe, which is the only Pepe coin you need to know about. The Pepe on Bitcoin on Stacks, the Orange Frog, and Fact Fun. Roth's Fact Fun token is also one of our sponsors for the month of June. We've had other sponsorships with some of the other ones as well. Meme, Welsh, Rap Nothing. Hermetica was an original sponsor of the game round. So we've very community oriented and engagement opportunities. And then so we also distribute the funds via BoostX, which is a project on Stacks that allows anyone with a BNS name in their X handle actually you can send them stacks, NFTs, tokens. There's actually a thing called space drops now, and right through X, as long as you have the Boost X Chrome extension installed on the same browser, you have a wallet extension. So we integrate with Boost X, and then we're also, kind of spreading out, like anyone we onboard, they get a fresh new BNS name as well. So we're spreading the word about our meme token communities. We're adding engagement value. We're supporting Skullcoin, which is a great project that Xenitron has founded, and then also promoting BoostX and BNS adoption as well. So it's a very stacks oriented game segment, I should say. Do we have a winner?
Yeah, we have a winner. We have a lot of players who found. Let's go. Let's play open games for everyone.
All right.
Even Melanie found it too.
Yeah, these live finder rounds are fun. The community definitely gets engaged.
Yeah, so my vision, we have to create a fair competition in crypto. If you cannot create a fair competition, you don't know like where the yield coming from. That's a problem.
That's my fault. I'll fix it.
Let's go.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's too far, Michael. The starting locations always you have just to go forward, but Michael, our traveler, our guide, he just show us the planet, the beauty of our planet.
So who won that one?
It was a dark.btc.
Hey, let's go.
Win.
Guys, I also found it.
Yeah, you found
Good job,
it, right.
Melanie. You're getting better and better.
A little bit. I've been playing this game, Robin, for how long? Ever since it started, right? And I'm still on the newbie.
Mel's the only one that gets a perpetual whitelist spot. You've won a few though.
But it's a cool game.
Yeah, it's fun.
It is
We got
so
a lot of users. We got a regular group of crowd that comes in and plays. And actually, a few of our we have like a circuit of our really pro circuit players that actually have been a little bit sleepy the last couple of days. They haven't been playing this week as much. The Orange Collector actually owns everybody in this game. He's like really, if he's playing, it's like 50-50, he's gonna win the round. So it's but it's an interesting concept. Players have to share. Guys, make sure, by the way, that you did share out the live stream and that you like and repost the game round. If you do not like and repost the game round or share out the live stream and you are the one that wins, Game Master will give your prize to the runner-up.
Okay. What are we doing next?
Okay,
When am
we're
I
ready.
counting down again?
Countdown.
Michael, give us a countdown.
Let's go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Let's go. The games are launching. Simultaneously, we play two games: Factory Fun and the Roo game.
Let's go.
They have nice pictures. So the Roo game is Jack, Ben Switch, and Factory Fun by the Rafa.
Oh, nice. Two OG projects. So huge shout out, Flat Earth. I'm really looking forward to the game that they're designing with UAP Coin. Roo Coin, for those that don't know, is an amazing community coin designed by Legend of Stacks Legends, Jack Binswitch. And what was the other one? Fact Fun is Rafa's meme coin launch platform with bonding curve and the pre-launch seeding. Some amazing stuff he's doing over there. And good luck to the hunters for these two back-to-back rounds. I do want to ask Robin, I want to get back into the conversation about tokenized real-world assets. And is that something that you guys see as something that Liquidium would, on the Liquidium Fi side, maybe get into down the line? Is real world assets something you guys are looking at?
Well, I think the adoption for real world assets has to be there first, right? Like this is not something that we can really initiate. It's
right. You can't
a very highly complex thing.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I mean, obviously, as soon as there are any sort of real world assets that exist, like for example, property and stuff like that, that is tokenized in the form of an ordinal or a rune or whatever. Like it could be company shares in the form of runes or plots of land in the form of an ordinal, and we will obviously support that. And on Liquidium WTF, because there's more of a peer-to-peer type thing, but then maybe it could expand even beyond that. So yeah, definitely something that we are interested in if it works.
Yeah, very cool. I think it's specific to real estate. You need to get the municipalities to incorporate blockchain into their records keeping management stuff, and then it becomes tradable that way. Because that's really right now you're transferring deed, and the records is that all has to get delivered at least in the U.S. That all gets delivered to a local, either a county or a municipal governance body that oversees all of the records for housing ownership in their jurisdiction. So I don't know that you're going to be able to separate it and have it be like a purely peer-to-peer system for a long time. You really need to get the governments to adopt it and use it that way before we can step out to the next phase there. Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's a highly complex process, just because you kind of like need that adoption first. You need you need property on an ordinal first, and like I think it makes a lot of sense because right now all of these things are still extremely tedious, and like you still have like physical books for the records of ownership and stuff like that, which in my opinion is super intransparent because nobody really has access to them besides I guess state authorities, or if you have like special permission to look at the records, who owns which plot of land. And then also it is extremely centralized because it can be changed basically by people of power. And but it would make sense to kind of like replace that, just to make it more secure, to make it decentralized, and to also kind of eliminate, much more transparent, and also to eliminate the physical like record keeping, like just make it digital. I think it would be so much better to make it kind of paperless, and the best way to do it paperless is to use blockchain technology here.
Right, it's the most secure way to do it, right? Because if it's just a Web 2 database, that's subject to all the same manipulation a piece of paper could be actually.
Exactly, yeah. And then people could actually own, like, they would actually have the certificate of ownership in their own wallets, in their own hands, essentially, and they could do with it what they want. Like, I could literally go to my brother right now and tell him, like, hey, do you want to buy this house from me? And within 10 minutes, I could send him that ordinal that represents the ownership, and he would just give me the money. Like, super easy, transparent, and fast transaction without even having to set up contracts and stuff like that, because I can just send him whatever I have, and it would automatically be in his wallet and therefore his ownership. And then...
Has nobody won yet?
Okay, we have winners. Let's play 2 more games, or maybe one by one, as you wish. Let's go.
What do we got? 3 more, including we can do one by one, because we gotta... I have to stretch until 10:30 when we have the SIP call going live. So nobody, by the way, nobody's obligated to stay for it. Everyone's welcome if they want to.
Okay, let's go one by one. We have funny pictures today. Let's go. I will launch Leo game. Everyone, get ready.
All right, get back, hunters. Get back. Get ready. Let us know in the live chat that you are ready for the next round to launch. So what are the advantages to Palau citizenship?
There are. I mean, like right now, it's still very limited. I think probably the biggest use case is for people that are part of like restricted areas for specific things. For example, the US notably is excluded from many centralized exchanges. Like there are a lot of centralized exchanges where US citizens cannot register.
You can Binance, like Binance.
Exactly. So Binance Global, for example, like US people can only register on Binance US, or same thing with Coinbase. Like you have Coinbase Global and Coinbase US. There are exchanges like I think Gate.io is only for outside of the US. And like as a US citizen, for example, it makes a lot of sense because you can just get your Palau ID and then do the KYC with your Palau ID and therefore have access to these exchanges, because now you're basically a permanent resident of that state that is eligible for all of these exchanges. And you could basically like register for all of these exchanges without having to do it through your US citizenship or US ID. So that is an obvious use case right there. And then I think there are same thing goes for the EU. I think EU based members or like EU based people, they can still sign up for all of the global exchanges, but there are a lot of restrictions now in the EU that you have to like specify who you're sending funds to and stuff like that. So it's kind of like very restricted what they do now, and they kind of like require records for everything. And you could just like then same thing, like register with an exchange with your Palau ID, which doesn't have these kind of restrictions, which is very nice. I mean, this is not legal advice. I don't know, like if this is a gray zone, or if that's like fully legal. I know that many people are talking about it, and it's actually one of the use cases that Palau themselves promote. So I think that it is a totally legal process. Yeah, so that's kind of like one big use case, I would say, especially for people in crypto. And Palau really aims for crypto people. I think one of the first digital residents of Palau were Tim Draper and Vitalik Buterin. So it's definitely crypto focused.
Yeah.
And then they also have like a pretty big roadmap when it comes to more things. So for example, they want to do digital companies essentially. So you can.
Michael found it, Michael. Now we can continue now. Let's go. I launch one more game and you continue.
Let's go. Go ahead.
Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Check the game. It's a very funny picture. We found something absolutely again randomly on the planet Earth. Let's go.
And guys, make sure you like and share the game rounds. Share out the live stream. It's very important. It helps us grow. The more viewers we get, the more players we get, the more games we can run, the better the prizes we can secure for you guys. So make sure you're sharing out the live stream when you see it, when you're participating, and when you're playing.
The place where we're doing the tokenized real estate, you know where it is?
Philippines, you said, right?
Yeah, Philippines.
So right off, right near Palau.
I'd have to check.
Yeah, Philippines is right next. Like Philippines is basically the next bigger thing next to Palau.
If you go check out resortmaker.com, you'll see what we've been up to over the last few months.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you based in the Philippines?
That's where the architect is, actually. So the architect has been building resorts for the past 25 years and now is looking at creating a legacy with creative finance using the new world of Bitcoin, commercial real estate, and AI. Imagining real estate investment trusts using the most liquid market on the planet.
Yep. Yeah, this is pretty huge.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Michael's kind of an idea and development guy. He takes ideas and runs with them, and he really kind of shapes things out differently than other people can, I should say. So it's he's a huge value add. It's not, he doesn't just look good in a bucket hat. He provides a lot of value here.
I just don't tell anyone when I fall down with those ideas on my face.
No, we just go to the next idea, right? That's how.
Exactly. That's the builder spirit.
Right. You gotta be okay with falling. You can't develop ideas without falling on your face.
You gotta fall like a slinky.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's so funny.
Guys, real quick, I want to just give a shout out or a word from our amazing sponsors. Here's a quick word from Stacking DAO. A quick word from BitFlow. By the way, guys, don't miss the BitFlow barn going on. You got to check them out. All your meme coins can now be dropped in for earning liquidity yield on BitFlow. Check them out. And we are back. We are who sponsored this round? We got let me actually get back into, I got too many tabs today.
Robin, I've got a show called Bitcoin and Beyond where I interview people. I'd love to have it on you. I'd love to have it on you. I'd love to have you.
You must have made quite the impression.
Melanie is actually one of the best interviewees in the space. She does an awesome job. She's done interviews with all sorts of founders in the space, and it's a very personal, usually ends up being, we schedule it for an hour. It always ends up going longer because everyone's having a good time with the conversation. So highly recommend, but I won't force you to commit to live.
I would love to join. Yeah.
I'm making you commit on air. No, I'm going to send you a DM because I have been following you on X. So I'll just send you a DM and I'd love to have you on when you've got, I'll send you the link and then, it'd be so awesome to chat to you. I love this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be on there. What's your name on Twitter? Just so I can give you a follow back.
Melbell.
MELBELLE.
Okay, we have another woman.
Thanks for the nice words, Peace. Sorry.
I just want to say we have another woman. It's Winnie, who is the winner of this episode.
Hey, let's go, Winnie. Congratulations.
Okay, let's play. We have Friday Pepe game and the last jackpot game. Everyone get back.
Everyone get back. Get ready.
Get back.
We're on this.
I'll send you a DM now, Robin, and then you've got so you can find it.
Nice, we have network connections here, mortals. Well played.
That's what we're here for with DeOrganized, really, is to just kind of keep building the connections and fostering the network of the community and the broader Bitcoin crypto space, and just help everyone grow together. That's really what we're here for. So another goal achieved today.
Has a new game started, or are we just waiting for the...
No, we're ready to start. Let's go. I will count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Friday Pep. You have to find the car with the beer.
All right. I'm going to play this one. I want to earn some more Pepe so I can do some space drops. Let's see. Michael, I figured out why that 3D button wasn't there for you.
Oh, why's that?
You got to switch between the satellite view and the map view.
Which view?
So, am I looking at your screen? So, yeah, so that's satellite. Well, that's map. The other one is satellite, where you can see all the images. That bottom.
Okay, we have drunk man. It's yeah.
Or you can do terrain, I think.
Yeah, Lil Dude is already drunk. He won.
Yeah.
You already did it.
Too fast, man. Too fast.
At that bottom left, it doesn't give you. You should just be able to click on there. That it didn't give it to you. Man, they really hose the Canadians.
Oh,
they don't
man.
want.
It's rough
They don't
out
even.
here.
They won't even give you guys a 3D Google map.
Man,
Crazy.
we don't even have Cash App. That's how much they want to hold us down over here.
Guys, last night there's a new thing on Netflix, a new series called Trainwreck, and they just put like these mad stories. And last night I watched about the Canadian mayor. I think he was of Toronto, Rob Ford. Have you seen? Do
I
you
saw
know
him
who
up
he is?
close for a long time. Yeah, I'm from
Really?
Toronto, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So
We're
okay.
used to
So, but I mean, by up close, do you mean like you
No,
worked with him?
but his brother's in power now.
How did his brother make
His
it into
brother
power?
took his job.
No.
He replaced him. They didn't talk about
I
that.
saw that they said it ends with his brother.
Yeah, his brother's-
His brother running for his
He has it
position.
Yeah,
No.
Doug Ford. Take a look.
Was he removed before his brother took over, or his brother actually like beat him in a race? Like,
No, you have to see this. Peace feels like videos of him
Yeah.
smoking crack
Yeah.
cocaine.
oh, that was the crack smoking mayor. Is that I remember? Oh no, I thought that was.
Yeah.
It wasn't Michigan. It was from Toronto. Is that?
No, you're thinking about Marion Barry. I think that's Chicago.
No, that was Washington D.C.
Washington.
That was a A lot of crack smoking mayors. That's weird.
You know how the Northeast is, right?
I am from the Northeast. I very much know how the Northeast is. I'm in the Northeast now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, check out this lady. She's Fast and the Furious.
Let's
Ladies.
Megan
I know.
Fox.
Megan, what?
Megan Fox.
Megan
What a
Fox.
fox.
Yeah, she's
Oh,
so
yeah.
foxy, that lady. I can
Fast and the Furious.
Not that Megan Fox is even in the
Are we?
Fast
Is this?
She's
we-
in Transformers.
Did we have a winner for this current round, or we're still?
Yeah, Lil Dude is already drunk, so we're ready for jackpot round.
All right. So we have about 20 minutes until the sip call. So maybe we'll give a 10-minute jackpot round.
Yeah, let's go. We wanna see the winner today.
Isn't there $60 up for grabs today?
It's 50 stacks, but you know, like stacks should be $10, whatever. In future, yeah, in future.
Not
You'll-
financial advice.
You'll be alive by then.
JTA, you will be very, very rich.
Who's this lady?
You will be in treasure committee. I will vote for you for balance. We need to
Yes,
we need to
please.
balance this corporative guys. We need like real community. Food eat.
Yeah, and you need somebody that's not so like can't be a complete yawn fest. And anyway, yeah,
I don't think.
look,
Well,
it's-
and we will talk more about this in the SIP call. But I actually am very encouraged by the appointment committee process. I think that
Yeah,
very
I
well.
like very much. Yes, the process. Mitchell done great job. Really, he shows tremendous skills with Notion. With all of those filters. I just wanted to participate from Underworld to see the fair-minded people, like with consensus, how we made these decisions, and I like this very much. Okay, let's launch the jackpot round and continue discussion.
All
Yeah,
right,
I'm playing
get
this.
back. This is worth 50 STX, fam.
Sure, you have to play because like it's very beauty one.
Don't forget to share out the live stream and make sure you like and repost the game round. You do not
Yeah,
want
don't try
have
to
your
rush.
mistakes.
Repost the stream, repost the game, please, everyone. Okay, I will count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. The game is on. The last game for today. I wanna see the winner. It's not so hard actually.
Let's go. Let's go.
You have to find this beauty tree and the blue card. It's not so close, but it's not so far. I try so hard, yet so far. Let's go.
I like it. I like it. Are you saying that in the end it doesn't really matter?
We need to have Xenitron do a cover of the classics. Just like
Let's
that.
go.
Yeah.
I would
And talking about encrypted NFTs, our seed phrase hunt, we can. I will have conversation with my dev team this weekend. We can do it very easily, and if this narrative goes hard, we can do it on regular basis. So just imagine while you're searching the first game, 10 wallets. So for example, 10 wallets, it means like each wallet have 24 words. Yeah, 24 words for seed phrase. It means we have 24 on 10, like multiply. And we wanna like each word to repeat 10 times. So it will be 2,400 NFTs. Mean price very cheap, 1 stacks. 2,400 NFTs, 1 stacks.
I like it. I like it. I'm excited. When's it launching?
Only one mess, you find very similar location, but it's not the right one. As I said, I will talk to my devs and we decide, but it's not so hard to launch for us, really.
It's just a matter of when it's the
Yeah.
right.
So So, but I have idea to make one merge mechanism. So it means like, for example, you mint NFTs. Yeah. Okay. It will be like 20 per wallet. We wanna make like some kind of not whitelist, but not give opportunity to mint all 2000. We wanna give opportunity everyone to play.
Right. So it's a mint limit, maybe a wallet mint limit or something.
Yeah, wallet. You can make multiplayer wallets. We just wanna make give opportunity to everyone to play, because the more feedback we get, the better games we will make.
Well, you can make multiple wallets, but you're creating that extra step, so it will discourage some people from doing that. And I mean, if you're talking about 10,000 NFTs, then someone would have to mint 10,000 stacks. Like, they're providing all of the stacks to mint out all the NFTs to win the prizes, which are based on the amount of stacks. Like, it would be there's a disincentive already built in there, isn't it?
Could you repeat, please? I just checked the location.
So, like, there's not a lot of incentive for somebody to just kind of mint out all of the NFTs, because
Well, you know, he will be in zero, like he will be break even.
right. So it's a lot of effort just to not really get any. And actually, like, if you're taking 10%, right, and you're also factoring fees, it'll actually be a small loss, no matter what they do.
Yeah, very small loss. We have very cheap fees, but we wanna make this engagement, because like we don't know really what will be. Maybe it will be very interesting, because you have just to find these words from your friends, from your neighbor. I mean, from everyone. You can just trade these words. We ask to Gamma to we have like private chat with the Jack from the Gamma. We have very good relationship with the Jack, and we can just ask them to add fast this trading, because the trading could be huge. Like, everyone just, for example, just imagine you have 20 words. You just need 4 words. Yeah, you will trade. You will just ask everyone just to get this word. It will be interesting.
Oh, it's definitely going to be interesting, for sure.
Okay, everyone, we will give you 5 minutes more. We can give you the clue if you want. It's up to show panel participants. It's up to PeaceLove, GPSC,
What do you guys
Michael, and
think?
Melanie.
Give them a clue. You guys want to?
Yeah,
Yes.
but the clue will give the big advantage, because it will give the exactly direction.
I think I like the idea of having a clue. I think it's a good. I think we should
I really
do it.
don't think they deserve it, though. You know? What do you think?
What would make them? Well, I mean, we got
You
a
know-
lot of. We did get a lot of live stream shares,
Oh, did we? Okay.
That-
Yeah.
participation in the game rounds
Yeah.
today. I don't know. Let's see what they say in the chat. Maybe
Yeah.
we should let them, if they want a clue, they should join in the live chat and
Yeah.
let us know. I think that
You
maybe
know.
would be a compromise.
If you want to be weak and ask for help along the journey, yeah, fine. Ask in the chat if you want to, give up your autonomy and hand control over SIP 30. Hold on. Doo-doo-doo.
Okay, chat. There will be exactly the tree with the flowers. Exactly situation. It's not the Ghibli image. It's like original image. Okay, if you're ready for the clue, we'll give you the clue.
Yeah, let's have it.
But when you receive the clue, you will get everyone a lot of advantage. Like, it will be easier for many times. Okay, in 10 seconds we will drop the clue. Be ready.
All right. Are you guys ready for the clue?
Okay, I'm dropping the clue, and also I'm like telling you where it is. Like, the clue is loading. It's on the northwest. You have to go on the northwest from the starting location.
Okay, let's go. Northwest. Hey, that's Kim Kardashian's child's name.
She named a kid
Let's go.
Northwest. Oh yeah, but well, Northwest.
Northwest. So,
West
so
is the
up,
outland,
up
yeah.
and left. Left up. Find the beautiful trees and be the winner of today's jackpot game.
I will say there are a lot of gorgeous trees in Portland, apparently.
Isn't that where Antifa is?
I can neither confirm nor deny knowledge of where Antifa is.
Yeah, so talking about again on chain game, I think really that 2,400 NFT is enough. What do you think? But the price will be very cheap, like very
How
cheap
many
price.
NFTs?
2,400. So 1 stacks per NFT.
2,400 NFTs. So 100 seed phrases, 124 word seed phrases.
No,
All
I
the-
wanna make like copies. So just 10 seed phrases.
10 seed phrases, and then a bunch of so some of the NFTs will have other stuff on them. That's right.
Yeah. So idea to make copies of each word 10 times.
Hey guys, I'm sorry to interrupt. I need to jump to another call. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And actually, you hung out way longer than I was anticipating. It was a great time. You guys have a great vibe over at Liquidium. I think that's why you've been so successful, by the way. Just a bunch of great dudes. I'm so glad we got a chance to chat and get to know you and what you're building. You guys are welcome back anytime. Happy to have you guys come on and let us know when you got new things coming, or if you just want to come in and join the conversation.
Yeah,
Absolutely
appreciate
glad
it.
to have you today, man.
Okay,
Yeah.
we have a winner. Okay.
Would love to come back. All right, see you guys.
See you.
Right.
See you,
Thank you,
man.
Robin.
Okay,
Have a great
bye.
day, man.
Bless you from underworld. Okay. Okay, we have a winner, and it's Fikri.
We got Hero Gamer in the house. Hero, how are you today, man? Welcome. We're catching the end of the Find to Earn rounds. Do we have a winner? Is that
Yeah,
what
we
you
have a winner. It's Fikri, our
said?
OG.
Hey, let's
What's
go. Congratulations. Vickery's a longtime player. I love when our regular OG players win, especially the jackpot rounds. It's super fun.
Let me drop the link to them.
Yeah, do you have it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Obviously, because you're here.
Okay, thanks everyone. I'm just go to underworld and Hero changed me in real world.
No. You can stay, Xenitron.
I'm gonna
I'd love
warm
to-
up a coffee and be right back.
Yeah, I will stay for a while, but I will go back soon.
Yeah, you're welcome to stay. I think who's coming on? Leor, Mitchell, and
Leo, I don't know if Mitchell is coming. I think he might be. I think he's accepted my calendar invite. But yeah, Leo.
Leor. So is Hattie joining too?
I think so.
Cool. I'm actually going to do the same as Michael and go. I think I have a little bit of coffee left. I can't remember, but I'm going to go see what I have left and heat it up real quick. I will be right back.
Yeah.
I'll also be right back, but I don't know how to turn my. How do you make your screen go like into that logo?
You should see a camera button, or you can actually just
Where?
at the same place where you do screen share towards the bottom of the screen, or it might be on your right if you're on a tablet device. Toward the bottom, or you can actually there you go. Mel's learning every day. That's what we're all about.
Yes, I'll see you guys now.
Just dropping the link to them. Where's everybody? Hey GP, what's up? How you doing, man?
What's up, Hero? Doing good, man. Happy Friday.
Good Friday.
It was good to get to talk. We spoke with Robin from Liquidium founders.
Yeah.
It was really cool. Been trying to line that up for a while. So
yeah, they came out of Stacks, right?
Was that?
They came out of Stacks.
Yeah, they came out of what is it? They call it Bitcoin Labs or something now.
Yeah,
but
he was in Stack Startup Lab cohort 1 with Diego. Diego founded his BitFlow there too.
Yeah.
Since I'm very old, I remember everything.
You and my wife, Zenny.
I think I remember the application. I mean, I saw the title, I saw it going through.
Yeah, they were.
I think
they were
the graph application a while ago, right?
Yeah, they were in the same cohort as BitFlow. We got to talk to him a little bit about that, so that was cool.
Well, before that, they would have. I don't know if BitFlow got funded from the Stacks Foundation grant. So prior them joining those accelerators, they would have had earlier support just to almost like get started. And now those came out of Stacks Foundation's grants.
Yeah, dude.
Because Stacks Foundation grants used to be just one single sort of grant path, and you just put anything on GitHub, basically. You know, whether you have a small project or a bigger project like them, they all went through the same path. And then throughout time, it got sort of a little bit two tracks, like the infrastructure track, like developer, real dev heavy side, and the community side.
That's dope. Yeah, a little lore there for the show before we get into the SIP call, right? Yeah, it was really nice getting to see and connect with him because I was supposed to interview him in Vegas, but like it was so fast paced. We didn't have we were in different locations.
Vegas was a blur too. There was so much going on.
There's a lot. Yeah. A lot. So
I don't know if I've seen your Vegas debrief yet, or your videos. I want to see videos.
Yeah, there's a.
Well, you know what it is? There's so much content. It's like hours and hours and hours. GP got so much footage. It's like, how do we? There's so much good content to put out there. But go ahead.
So just a bit of prep today. The whole session, I know some people didn't see my messages, or maybe I didn't tell you guys. But yeah, the whole point of today is we've had a lot of light shine on governance side of things, right? We talk a lot about fundings, but I think that's well covered enough. So let's do a session about the tokenomics, because I don't think that's being talked about much, or being communicated to. There's a lot of videos actually from Leo. If you see those Long Street videos from Leo, and plenty of content creator wrote about it, but I think it's just easier if you just hear it firsthand on the call. What is the tokenomics even about? Like, what's been proposed? Just talk to me as if I never even heard about the tokenomics change. We all know it's 500 million SDX. How is it distributed? What proportion go to what? I think those breakdowns could really help us. We hear it firsthand from Leo.
For sure. I think that's a great idea for rounding out this SIP, because it does seem like you said that the economics cab has already approved. I'm pretty sure the governance cab has mostly approved.
Yeah, and I can even give a bit of update. I mean, I was kind of not sure if it will get approved, to be honest. Even myself, but the 5 members there actually all voted for yes. So there was actually 3 options for them to choose, just in case anybody didn't know. I think just the way to do it, a little bit different to the GovCap. It's approved with no prerequisites, or the second one is conditional approve, and the third one is reject. I believe like all of them went for the approved with no prerequisites. So it's like a pretty strong approval, if you like, to my own surprise, to be honest.
So that actually makes a lot of sense too. That it makes sense to have that kind of a structure. You know, we agree with this, or it's like kind of like almost like conditional approval, where X, Y, and Z conditions have to be met in order for this approval to be valid. Kind of
governance cap don't tend to do it that way. I think because the last SIP was SIP 29, and because that was to do with token emission change directly, and there were some risk in terms of like if the stacks blocks get reorged, what would happen to those DeFi transactions, how those could be impacted. So I think Maddie wanted like a precaution added if replay protection can be added. So that's where sort of the origin of some conditional stuff came from. But typically we might not need a conditional stuff. Typically you just like discuss if governance cap has some issues, really want to see addressed, just go to the, just discuss with the SIP author directly per se. So
makes a lot of sense. Mitchell is here. What's up, Mitchell? How you doing today, man?
He's probably tired out from all the committee stuff.
How? What do you mean?
A lot intense.
Yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot for sure.
We can't hear you, Mitchell.
Hey, I don't know. It wouldn't let me unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. I can hear you now. Hattie in the house. What's up, brother? How you doing today, man?
Great, yeah.
Hey. Happy Friday.
Oh, Leo. I didn't send him the link. I mean, drop in the link.
By the way, Hero.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yes.
I was hoping that I'd get a chance. I don't know when the governance cap ended up meeting, but I have updates on the replay stuff if they need it. I just heard that I caught the tail end of what you were saying, but.
Oh yeah, I was just trying to explain how different caps have like we want just a simple yes or no vote, but the last SIP made basically the origin where like a bit of condition from economics. Yeah, no, feel free to give us. I actually saw some emails about replay protection, so I know that's going on actually. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, if the governance cap wants more info on it, just let me know. That's going on testnet, so definitely keeping that commitment for them for sure.
So just waiting for Leo. Oh, hi Alex. You know, welcome too. Great.
I'm Alex. How you doing?
I'm all right. You know.
Right. I
went to the rodeo yesterday, which was great.
Oh, I love the rodeo, dude.
That sounds very American.
That would have been my first rodeo, actually. That's
it is very American, in fact.
It is, and they still do the national anthem. You gotta take your hat off. Yeah, man, I love the rodeo.
Yeah, it's wild, man. Watching like bull riders and stuff. It is
great.
I would not want to do that.
It's a skill. It's definitely a skill. And you got to be a little probably crazy, kind of like being in crypto, actually, I guess, right? Got to be a little crazy to be here.
I'm not sure I would go up to a bull rider and say what you and I do is basically the same thing.
It's not completely dissimilar, is what I'm saying.
I use it on like GitHub, and
do you stay for the barrel racing, Alex, or do you?
Yes, I stayed for everything.
Yeah, man. I love seeing the girls do the barrel racing as well, man. I stay too. It's so skillful. It's great. There's a lot to go on, and man, it's immersive. I love it.
Yeah, the some of the barrel racers were incredible. They were just beating fast around the barrels.
There's one chick down here where I'm at that just smokes them all. Everyone. Like, she's always there.
Yeah.
All right. It looks like we have a full house. Everyone is here. Welcome, Leor, Mitchell, Alex. We have Blockface on the call. Heroes here. Hattie. Xenitron's going to hang out with us for a little bit. And we got Melanie here. So full crew. We're going to kind of go over. Hero thought it was a good idea, and I think so too, to maybe kind of go over some of the tokenomics side of things just because we haven't had that much discussion on it. And also just kind of go over the appointment committee process, which let me just start out by saying that I think that was an extremely well planned out and well carried out process. It was very engaged. There was a lot of time involved. It was a time commitment, but I think it was very fruitfully done. I love the way that we organized the criteria, that there was input from everybody. And I really think that I don't know if the final list has actually been made public yet, but I think that the list we're working with right now seems to be a very well-rounded, covering all of the perspectives needed to make sure that this is that the outcoming Treasury Committee is the right people for what we're looking to do here. So well done, everyone involved. Mitchell, that was a ton of work, man. I really, really appreciate. We all know that there was a lot of effort going into that. And Alex, especially with your commitment and your contributions and your engagement with the community throughout these last few weeks, really made all of this very, very productive. People feel heard. People feel well represented. And well done. I think it's been a really great process so far.
Yep, I'm really glad to hear that, and I've definitely gotten comments from other folks in the ecosystem about just how they feel like the process evolved, and exactly how the appointments committee selection went and everything. And I'm really, once again, just really happy to see like how much folks, given the opportunity, have dug into it and participated, and how, again, I just think it's like this whole process has just made the community, I think, that much stronger. And one of my hopes is definitely that like this is the first real exposure to like participation in the governance process for a lot of folks, and I'm really hoping that they kind of keep that going and stick with it based on that and get involved in other ways going forward.
Yes, I think a catalyst for engagement. Yes. Go ahead, Mitchell. Sorry.
No, I was just saying I totally agree with Alex. I think it's been actually a long time since we've had a SIP that's sort of like widely engaging, in the sense that like the ones before, right, like Nakamoto and SBTC, were kind of straightforward, and then we worked on them for so long. That's like kind of what everyone was oriented around. And so I think it was almost like, everyone coming out after like a long winter to enjoy the summer with getting back into the groove on a SIP where everyone has a clear sort of like stake in it, and it's obviously widely impactful, and it wasn't technical necessarily either. And so I do agree with Alex. It was nice to see everyone kind of return to the governance table after, after a number of like kind of heads down time on building. So it was great. And thank you to everyone. Big shout out to everyone who showed up to the workshops. I think it was, I agree with you. I think it was a good process. We kind of figured some of it out as we went, but the conversations were thoughtful and productive, and appreciate everyone who put in a lot of time with me.
Right on. And Resh is saying one chick, but what a chick, right?
Hey, you're assuming my identity, Resh.
Oh, he wasn't talking about you?
Yeah, and you're assuming mine as well.
Well, 2 faux pas and 1 comment.
So since we had such great coverage of the AC, the TC, the governance side of things, we've had multiple conversations about the grants funding side of things as well. So I think we can like leave them aside for now and maybe like shine a little bit more light on the tokenomics side. So that's what I thought we would do for this session. I would love maybe Leo, if you could just like let us know, like, if I were new to Stacks, like what is actually being proposed and how does it impact me? So if you could just do like a little bit high level on tokenomics side, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me? Just want to make sure I'm coming through. Awesome. Yeah, I just got a new mic and it's been giving me issues, so glad that I'm coming through. But yeah, good morning, everyone. Great to be here on another episode of DSpread or DeOrganized, excuse me. And I think it's actually been a while since I last attended. I think when we were announcing the launch of STX BTC at StackingDAO back in January.
It's been too long.
Yeah, too long. For sure. Yeah. To touch on your question, Hero Gamer, definitely quite a lot to talk about in regards to tokenomics and the new token emissions that will be coming to Stacks, assuming the SIP moves forward. High level, so there will be approximately 500 million new STX tokens that will be released over the course of 5 years, obviously to help encourage growth of the network and to really be used strategically and intelligently across various initiatives to encourage growth for Stacks over the next 5 years. I think there's like a really obviously an interesting and important time for the network, and it's a huge opportunity for us as an ecosystem to come together and to really cement ourselves as the leading Bitcoin L2, really cementing ourselves as the home of the Bitcoin economy, which we know, for all of us who have been here in Stacks for many years, we've always had this vision that Stacks could be so much more. I think that it's been great to see these initial glimmers of adoption across meme coins, NFTs, DeFi, obviously the launch of SBTC, which quickly grew to 5,000 Bitcoin. And I believe that that's going to grow even more, as we move forward. But yeah, I think we're just kind of realizing that we need these new token emissions to spur the next stage of growth for Stacks. And as I mentioned, these new tokens, so about 500 million Stacks that will be released over the next 5 years. Just to break this down a little bit more. So pretty much after the SIP is implemented and starts to and is approved, shortly after that, there's going to be 100 million Stacks tokens that are minted. But it's important to note that these Stacks are not going to be hitting the open market. This is essentially going to be used as working capital. So think of things like perhaps like depositing into DEX AMMs to deepen liquidity, making sure that there's less price slippage and better price execution across the top DEXs on Stacks like Velar, bitflow. I think that's one example. As I mentioned, these Stacks are not going to be hitting the open market, and it's really just going to help to enable deepen liquidity, and just help with various aspects to make sure there's more liquidity across the ecosystem. So that's one thing. Then there's also going to be another essentially 100 million Stacks that's minted, and that's going to be sold over the counter to various investors at a slight discount, and that will be subject to a linear vesting lockup period, I believe around like 18 to 24 months or so. So again, another thing to note is that these tokens are not going to be hitting the market right away, since it's going to be subject to that vesting schedule. It's going to be at least a year, if not longer, before any of those tokens hit the market. So we wouldn't expect any type of price impact on Stacks as a result of these new token emissions. And the last piece is that there's going to be 300 million Stacks remaining of that remaining 500 million that will be released per block over the course of 5 years. And so when you take all of these new emissions, when you calculate them into the inflation rate for Stacks, so what we see is today, prior to the SIP, the inflation rate for the Stacks network is about 3.5%. When you incorporate all these new emissions, it jumps a little bit up to 5.75%. And I know I've been quite vocal about this, that our team and have done a lot of good research looking at other competing ecosystems and blockchains to see how this inflation rate stacks up to some of the top ecosystems in the space. And what we found is that the median inflation rate across the top 50 networks has been around 10.2%, and that was for 2024. And so that, that's all encompassing. So that factors in, new staking rewards, investor unlocks. So that's kind of like the all-encompassing inflation rate across those networks. And so if you compare the 5.75% to the 10.2%, actually that inflation rate seems quite reasonable. And after 5 years, when the emissions are fully unlocked, and we're going to see actually that network inflation rate drop down to under 2%, where it should remain in perpetuity. So I think that just speaks to, we've definitely done a lot of research to see what is kind of what's typical across the top networks. And in comparison, I feel like that inflation rate is actually quite reasonable. I mean, not to say that we still need to make sure that we're deploying those resources in a very smart and intelligent way. We don't want to just like blow through this massive treasury of new emissions or new tokens all in one go. We need to be able to deploy them intelligently to make sure that we have, the right metrics in place, and we have a clear vision of where those resources should go towards. And I think that's why this, going back to governance, that's why this whole structure of the new, endowment that will be in place and managing the new treasury, and that's all to try to make sure that there are the right mechanisms in place, that there's oversight and accountability, so that we really have our best shot at making the most of these funds.
Yeah, Lior, I lost you for just a second. I was on my end. I switched devices, but that was a great summary. Thank you. And I also wanted to throw out, maybe for when Alex is back, he's more the expert here. But I think one of the things that gets sort of under talked about with the new endowment and a likely strategy there's like some notes on it in the SIP, but since it's not fully baked, I don't think it goes into great detail. But I know that the intent is to kind of work from some of the emerging best practices with the larger treasuries, wherein I think XRP, like whatever you think of their project, they've done a great job on the tokenomics side. And one of the things that we've found is that investors really like predictability with the crypto market. And so something the endowment will allow for and be able to do is when it does come time to do sales, those will be publicly disclosed beforehand. And I think that's really interesting. Like, I think it seems to be a way that the more projects are moving, but it's actually like, rather than create issues, it's actually provided a lot of stability for investors. And it's one of the things about the way that XRP and some other projects have been managing their tokenomics that I think has been a big part of their growth. So I don't know if we have dived into that yet, but I think it's just one of those things in the SIP that's like a small note, but that's actually really interesting. And I'm just excited to see how, ultimately the team that gets hired at the endowment, who are experts in these things, and end up executing on it. But I want to make sure people knew that there's kind of like, in conjunction with new tokens coming, there's also these kind of new, I guess, like tools that we have in our tool belt around the Stacks economy as a whole that look a lot like that. So wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, just to kind of, as Mitch was alluding to, the thing that we understand, I think, very clearly is, and I think it's true across any kind of market anywhere, is people just want predictability, right? Markets hate surprises overall, and so just being really clear about signaling and what you're going to do when. So a lot of the specific plans are still will be developed by the actual endowment team. Again, that's why you hire an expert staff on it. But I think we made very clear in the SIP that like they're only everything they do will be very clearly signaled and devised in that way for exactly that reason. Yeah, I'm excited to see what they come up with on that.
Lior, quick question for you. You mentioned that the purpose of SIP 31 is to accelerate the go-to-market of Stacks such that it is cemented as the dominant layer 2 on Bitcoin. My question is, what would you say are the North Star metrics for Stacks being the dominant layer 2 on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think a lot of that needs to be determined and will be defined by the Treasury Committee, because they at the end of the day are going to be providing the funds for the new operational entity, and they have to hold the operational entity accountable, and if they're not being accountable, they're not hitting those metrics, then they can take the funds and divert it elsewhere. So that's kind of part of that, back to accountability, and making sure that we're making the most of the funds. But in my mind, I think it boils down to a few things. We want to see more developer activity. We want to see new builders coming into the ecosystem. We want to see TVL growth. I mean, obviously for SBTC, but not just SBTC. We want to see, just basic user metrics rise. We want to see new apps that are getting downloads and getting usage. So, I think like any of the core things that you want to see out of a Web 2 or Web 3 application, those are the things that we want to look for.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I think TVL, active wallet activations, and anything that drives transactional volume growth would be like the broad metrics, right? If we can knock it out of the park.
Oh yeah, you can never really have one metric, right? Because if you only have one metric, then you start optimizing for that one thing at the expense of like overall. Yes, exactly. What gets measured gets managed. So like, number of active wallets is important, right? But so is like the amount, held in those wallets, or the amount of transactions on it, because otherwise you just, will end up like doing things to incentivize a bunch of people having one wallet with one STX in it, and that's not really that big. So yeah, number of active wallets is huge, number of active developers, number of transactions, size of transaction, size and value of transactions, the amount of SBTC pegged in and moving around the system, TVL, median TVL across like how many different apps. Obviously, you're always going to have a few apps that are going to be the biggest because of network effects and things, but you also need to have that big base of other apps below them being built so that you have the next generation of apps coming up. So, exactly what's most important at any given time. And this actually came up in some of the SIP discussions, is people said, hey, can we pick, like why don't we allocate just based on like the KPIs, right? Instead of having these people. And it's like, well, what the most important KPI at any given time is actually changes, both on, what the market's looking for, but also just where you are as an ecosystem, right? Like in the earliest days, you care more about like number of new active developers coming in because you need them to start building here, right? But fast forward a couple of years, now you start to carry a lot more, once those apps are established, about growth in transaction volume and things like that. So, you have this whole picture of probably 10 or 20 different KPIs and, metrics that you really care about and look, and which one's most important depends on where you are and what's going higher. But I think it's fundamentally like adoption and usage, right? Like, are people building applications that are getting used and adopted by folks all over the world to make their Bitcoin, usable and create this online Bitcoin economy? Like, that's what it all comes back to.
I just want to say I proposed new model for KPI, and because of the bad actors, the hackathon grinders, and we have to focus on something new things to really sort the new projects, very good projects for Stacks ecosystem in future, because how we spending this money is very important, and we should divide real value that comes into ecosystem from other things. And I propose it into SIP, and I understand the new things hard to feel, but we have to move forward.
Yeah, well, and I think the kind of thing that you were proposing there, those are exactly the kind of ways you need to define the individual campaigns, right? Because what you do is you go out and you say, hey, based on where everything is right now, we want to drive X metric higher, right? Or this is the thing we think we need to do in order to drive the ecosystem to the next step. And so we're going to create a campaign that tries to drive that. And then that's where you start really putting in, that really good impact measuring that prevents any kind of cheating or anything like that from the participants.
Right.
Cool. And just to maybe circle back a little bit, I know KPI is important, but I see a question in chat by Resh. Is there a cliff for up to 24 months then linear vesting?
So it will be a whole range of different things, because the longer you have a lockups and cliffs and things, the more of a discount you have to take on things. So I think the shortest initial cliff will be 6 or 12 months. Again, this is sort of still being worked out with like linear over another 12 months kind of thing after it. But then you'll have other ones that are like as long as 24 or 36 months before the vesting starts and things. So as that gets defined out, it'll all get published once we have those deals struck with like clear schedules on what it's going to look like. But again, the goal there is to just smooth it as much as possible.
Last question, actually. So, Lior, you described the current course of action as crystallized in SIP31, the 500 million. Were there any other divergent courses of action that you guys considered before choosing the one that's in the SIP?
I'm probably not the right person to ask this question.
No worries. Just curious.
Yeah, Mitchell or Alex, you want to?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to people about different options for resourcing and stuff for years at this point. I mean, I've been working full time in Stacks for 4 years, so this is a long term. What I'd say is that at the big picture, the only real option that the ecosystem has is generating and selling tokens when it comes to fundraising, right? Especially because we don't have a traditional labs company like a lot currently that like a lot of other folks do, and the tokens obviously was already created and out in the market.
Because of the Reg A way that the corporate structure was made?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of, really the only option that we had for significant fundraising is creating more tokens and selling those things, as well as there was the need to just, again, streamline kind of the operational execution of the ecosystem, which is why I think kind of in the broad strokes, it settled out where it was. And then there was, from what I understand and from like the conversations that people have reached out to me about, yes, there were tons of different sub options created of like, what is exactly the right way to set this all up. And I think the answer to that was just, why did everything land where it was? It was a combination of looking at like, what are best practices, what's worked and hasn't worked for other ecosystems, what do we think will or won't work for us based on the unique attributes of this ecosystem. I don't know, just kind of the same way like you would set up any business or product, and just having to like go through and make kind of best estimates based on all of these different inputs.
Cool. And maybe circle back to the tokenomic emission. I'm in the SIP right now, and I'm actually seeing what's the emission rate after 5 years? Maybe Leo, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So, as I mentioned before, so the average inflation rate over 5 years will come out to 5.75% all in. But then, obviously the emissions by the end of the 5th year are going to be completely done. And from there, the inflation rate tapers down to under 2%, where, we hope it will remain in perpetuity. So yeah, I mean, that 2% number, I think, is something that we can all get around after 5 years. And that's clearly a lot lower than many other blockchains out there. I know I've used this example before, but if you look at Solana, if you just look at the staking emissions, it comes out to 5% per year. But then if you also layer in all of the investor unlocks, and there were quite a lot this year and last year, their actual all-in inflation rate was closer to 12%. And it's a very similar story for a lot of other of the top blockchains as well. So I think that's something that a lot of folks need to keep in mind, is that there are a lot of figures that go into like an all-in inflation rate that folks it's very easy to overlook. I've definitely done that in the past. But when you look a bit deeper, you actually start to break things down, you see that there are obviously several components that go into an inflation rate. And a lot of the top blockchains, they had to do similar initiatives where they raise funds to encourage ecosystem growth. So, there is a bit of a playbook already in place that is shown to be successful.
Very cool, very interesting stuff. I honestly think that there was a lot of work that went into this, and I know, like, there was a lot of concern when we went with SIP 29. I think it was the change in the emission schedule to match to change in the halving schedule to match Bitcoin halving, which ultimately resulted in it technically a lower long-term emission rate. But there was some concerns at the time, just that if they do this, what's stopping them from doing it again? And the answer is nothing. You know, the answer is nothing. But it's all pertinent to a specific use case. Like, this isn't just, you know, adding funds for the sake of adding funds. There's a purpose driven behind that, and it's to grow the ecosystem. One of the concerns that I've heard from the community, and I would actually love, Resh brought it up, and I don't think the nature of what we're proposing here kind of makes it impossible to specify, but there is absolutely a mention of community grants in the SIP now. It's not really possible for us to identify a specific amount that's going to be allocated to that, because there's so many different things going on that could change between now and when the TC gets started and when the funds become available. But there is absolutely community grants and community project funding is definitely going to be a part of this. It's in the SIP, and can we just kind of I just looking for people to kind of reassure the community that because there's not a specific dollar amount being encoded into the SIP, that means that it won't be paid attention to after the SIP passes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important thing to look at that is, because I've definitely heard, you know, one of the concerns is like, well, what if it's not, you know, what if people are asking for things that aren't considered like the most core to it, right? Or it's not like the focus. And if you go back and you read the community grants section, it literally says explicitly that the community grants are for things that are not like the, you know, core focus. Like, again, for the last year, it was right, like a lot of getting SBTC and Nakamoto out the door. So community grants, not that I guess you couldn't get a community grant for something around SBTC or Nakamoto when we were working on, but that's not what it was meant for, right? It's literally meant explicitly for all the other things that do need to keep happening. And that's the other reason why the community grants are coming straight out of the endowment itself, as opposed to like, the operational entity is explicitly so that it is like from that group that is most directly accountable to the community, and where the community is voting on those folks every couple years as the Treasury Committee comes up for appointment. So yeah, that's why like that it was, you know, when I came up with the community grants thing and did it there, like I put it very specifically at that level, because that's what keeps it the most accountable to folks.
Right. So I think.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to add something here. I think this is actually like a really good topic, because even now I see, you know, I'll see an occasional statement like, oh, like the little guys versus the big guys, and like it's sort of in my opinion, it's a false dichotomy. And I think that I have enough empathy, right, to understand that like there is a reason people could have felt that way at different times in the project's history, and I think probably last year was one of those times. And this sort of grants issue, I think, is a big part of that, because at the Stacks Foundation, we made a difficult decision to not do open grants for a while. And we did that because we looked at the budget, we looked at our bandwidth, and we said, there's no way in hell we can help deliver Nakamoto and SBTC in anything close to these projections if we're trying to also do all these other things at the same time. And if you look at sort of like our bylaws and our mandate is to deliver the word of the SIP. And Nakamoto and SBTC already had SIPs. So like our job was literally to deliver those things. And that job was dictated by the community, right? So what's different about this SIP, and what this SIP changes, I think, which is exciting, is no matter how under pressure anyone is to deliver the core stuff, there's still this extra carve out that we haven't had before, I think there's the assumption that the Stacks Foundation money was just like always carved out for community, but our mandate's actually R&D and security and core. And so when those things come push to shove with like, hey, do I run another instance of the Mintery like we did and give out a bunch of money to creators? Do I decide to fund like another, this kind of gaming platform or this or that? And it's up against something like SBTC. Like, obviously, like for us, we don't really get that choice. And so like for my own sake, I'm excited to see in the ecosystem that there is something carved out where, obviously like that is a luxury now that we have with much more capital. So I think that's like a thing to dig into. And like, I've tried to kind of explain this to, a number of different community folks who felt like, I guess, left out, or like that it's like this group versus that group. It's really not that. It's like tough choices about, okay, we have to do the thing that's most widely beneficial, which really landed on the 2 big upgrades, which took 18 months, they were massive things. So.
Right. Well, and to that point too, like as extremely impactful and successful as D Grants was, a lot of the people that were building projects for D Grants were building things that were reliant on fast blocks to really be functional.
Exactly.
And so until we actually had fast blocks, there was some spinning of wheels with some of that development. So we're in a much better position technologically with fast blocks, with a functional SBTC, to actually now make more meaningful impact with kind of funding as well.
No, that's exactly right. Like we were seeing that in real time, right? We had open grants for years and years at the foundation. A lot of those were bumping into the technological limitations. D Grants folks were bumping into it, and we're like, not only are people getting like frustrated, they're getting blocked, but we're also wasting money because these things can't come to market, and then these folks are moving on. And so rather than doing that, right, it's like, okay, let's accelerate these core things as much as we possibly can. That's really all it comes down to. It was, I hope people really know it's never like, oh, the foundation or whoever stopped caring about you, or, oh, it's like the big guys versus the little guys. Like really, like my team, you guys know a lot of my team, like personally, right? Like they wake up every day and they like love to try to figure out everything they can possibly do. I'm sure, yesterday I was talking to Rick. He was still up at midnight working on something for something that he didn't have to do, right? So again, I'm not here to like rehash like the past stuff. I think this process is what normally the community looks like. And like I said, we've been in this 12 months of like this really heads down, really hard thing that we just did to release this on the network, and giving each other a lot of grace as we come back to normal, and then now make this transition to the endowment, I think is the right mindset to have. And on all sides, whatever those sides are, like I just hope we can kind of forgive each other and accept that we're all trying to do our best in our own lanes,
Right. And part of it too is going to be on, sorry, here, I just want to say this and I'll let you jump in, but part of this is going to be contingent on people making the right proposals, and putting a strong proposal in and having a good project that you're trying to fund too. Like it's not just, we're not just looking to throw money at anybody that's looking to do
exactly.
It's
and the ongoing commitment can be the hardest part of that too, right? It's like, it's easy to, pay someone or a vendor or to give a grant for someone to build something once, right? And then we've seen with grants, like how those fall out of date quickly. So it's a lot of like finding the right team and finding people willing to, okay, what's the maintenance contract look like? Is it reasonable? Are they willing to keep it up, to do further integrations, that kind of thing? It's, it's very manageable, but it's just one of those things that I think oftentimes like, oh, it's just easy, like, throw 50K and get this done. But then if you do it that way, that 50K gets wasted a lot more often if you don't think about the full life cycle of the thing that's being granted for. So anyway, I think with more resources, that all that gets a lot easier anyway. So
yeah, I think it really helps to give us the context, Mitchell. So thank you very much. I do want to drive it a little bit back to the tokenomics, so we don't spend the whole time just talking about like allocations. So one question I have, after the 5 years, I see the next section, it talks about the nomics report. So I think it haven't been like shared as much as in like how did the Nomics report help inform you guys? What findings? What were the key findings? How did it make you decide or improve the proposal that you came up with? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Mitchell, do you want to take that, or do you want me to?
Go for it. I missed half of the question.
Yeah. Sure. So anytime you're coming up with something like this, right, there's like a back and forth of like, okay, here's an idea, let's test it. Okay, take the inputs from that, evolve the idea, test it again, do that back and forth, right? So I think there were 5 rounds of the report that happened with Nomics, going back and forth on those things, because it was both trying to inform what are realistic assumptions, and then to also then test, okay, based on those assumptions, like what is it? And so, the most important thing is, as it kind of says very clearly, is try to take a very conservative assumption set in the Nomics report, because again, the last thing you want to do, and that I think there, is been pretty clear commitment, like not going back and saying like, oops, that wasn't enough, we need more, right? That's not happening. And so the Nomics report was kind of all about that, which is like, what is the amount based on like what we think the rough scale of needed investment is, right? And again, there's no way to know exactly what the amount that's needed is, but based on like looking at comps from other ecosystems and how much is probably needed, like how many tokens do you need to generate in order to likely be able to sell on it? So it was, part 1 was figuring out how much do you probably need. And then the second part that's just as important is okay, so you've created you're going to create all these tokens. How do you create and distribute and release them to market in a way that is not going to like super negatively affect the market right out of the gate? And so that's where you see all that analysis about like how many you can release on a given day, and how to stagger the lockups and things like that. So again, there was like 5 rounds of going back and forth of like trying and playing with different sets of assumptions and things, and then running all kinds of deep analysis on, based on like market liquidity.
Yeah, I don't have much to add. They were great to work with. In fact, like so great to work with. We're working with them again. They're already sort of diving deep into some of the value accrual stuff that Andre has shared on the roadmap, looking at different, modeling for dual stacking and things like that. Kind of now that they're up to speed on the Stacks network, they really understand our tokenomics. This is all they do, which actually sounds like a pretty fun job. I wouldn't be I wouldn't have the requisite skills necessarily. They've got all these different statistical and economic models that are pretty cool. But yeah, I think, Alex covered it. We always, whenever there is a SIP like this, or whenever there is a big decision, even when it's not a SIP, oftentimes one of the roles the foundation plays that some people realize, some people don't, is like we are always seeking expertise, and that takes many forms. A lot of times that might be like a neutral third party like Nomics. Sometimes it might be, we're just seeing an array, consulting an array of different lawyers, right, for SBTC compliance type stuff, and making sure that gets, our partners have questions, we can answer them in an educated way. So I think that just keeps up this pattern. And one of the things about SIP 31 that I think is great is, it looks like we'll continue to have resources to do that kind of thing. If anything, we'll be able to focus on that type of governance, aiding of the community and decision-making type of activities even more. And so like this sort of like consulting of deep expertise is something that I really enjoy doing, and like if anything, want to see more of. But Nomics was a great example of that working really well. And if you know any teams that are like trying to work on their tokenomics and want to workshop with them, like always happy to make that intro. I know hopefully we have some TGEs coming up in the ecosystem and all that.
I'm sure we will. One thing I wanted to ask related to, so SBTC rollout has been amazing. Obviously there's way more demand in the marketplace for more BTC into SBTC. And I know that there's some balance issues with, I don't understand all the details of it tokenomics wise, of the limitations as to when we can open up the cap and allow more BTC in or BTC in, and whether the endowment actually facilitates faster cap raises in any way, or if it's related at all. Does anyone?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I don't think it's direct. I think that the cap raises are really more of a product decision, right? It's like a phasing and features type of technology decision. More than anything, I think the place that the endowment can certainly help is a little less direct, in that in order to grow SBTC from here, you're going to need you're going to need a healthy DeFi ecosystem on Stacks. You're going to need a reason for people to want to peg into SBTC and something that they can do with it, something they can earn with it. And then, so I think that's, when you look at some of the budgeting for incentives and DeFi growth and marketing, creating that strong center of gravity around the Stacks chain where there's use cases people want to come in and peg into SBTC for, that's how the endowment's going to help with SBTC TVL, in my opinion, the most.
So more in the users, the engagement side, and giving people more reasons to do so.
Yeah, and of course, like, we can fuel more builders that are building more use cases too, right? So the more reasons and the more quality reasons, like I said, the more gravity that there is on Stacks for use cases with Bitcoin, the more people are going to be attracted to, like, okay, well, you've given me a reason to peg into SBTC, so now I'll do it. That's why I'm particularly excited about dual stacking. I know it's like really early exploration, but I think for years it's felt like that's been an opportunity, and with SBTC we could finally do it. So I think there's going to be a whole host of parties, at least based on the customer exploration that's been done so far, that maybe they're an institution or a family office, or they're just a hardcore Bitcoiner, and they're excited about Bitcoin yield. They're excited about what Stacks is doing as a layer, but they're just not ready to go, full Stacks price exposure. They're getting comfortable with tokens or what have you. And so sort of like a hybrid option, I think, is really interesting for those folks, where they can take a little bit of risk if they want to, but they're primarily holding Bitcoin and they're getting some yield from that. And so as like a kind of entry point in the ecosystem where you could easily see them kind of continuing on to do more from there, I think it's really interesting. I know Andre is really excited about vaults as well. So like these programmable Bitcoin vaults, and basically different ways of getting people exposure to SBTC and yield and products like that. So.
Cool. Hattie actually has a question. He's having some issues with his connectivity, but he's asking if there could be a little bit of elaboration on the future token, the token burn section of the SIP, and any details on that we can go over. Can you guys go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I would say that's another section that I wrote based on the community feedback. I think so. This kind of goes back to the idea of the nomics report being a conservative place to start from, because again, we want people to be confident that this, you're not going to have to come back and ask for more, right? And so because of that, there's definitely the chance that the treasury could overperform and get it bigger than it needs to be, which there's not an exact number on, because for instance, you have no idea what inflation and things will look like in the future. That's part of the reason I think we all hold Bitcoin in the first place.
Right.
But like ballpark, let's just say if you had like $1 billion endowment, right, that is well managed, that should be able to throw off like $50 to $100 million a year in interest that you can use for spending, right? So if you were over like $1 billion on the endowment, you'd be in a pretty good place for funding all of the things based on the current view of the world. At least you'd be in a pretty good place for funding everything that you need to. Additionally, there's the goal to have all these different protocol revenue things, which again, depending on how fast they come in and how quickly they grow and things like that, might be able to offset some of that. And so the way we wrote it is like, all right, so if the treasury does overperform and we get to the point that's big enough that we need, or if there's enough revenue from these other places that we can, then you get to the point where, yeah, you can go and you can burn a bunch of the tokens that have yet to be minted, or even maybe you have tokens that have been minted and you can just burn them. And so, but the flip side to that is, because, one of the questions we got is like, all right, well, why don't you like hard code in like exactly what the burn plan will be? And again, once again, like this is a 20-year long like endowment and treasury thing. We don't know what the burn plan should look like, because again, that's very different if stacks went to $10 in 2 years at a time where inflation overall hadn't really moved, right? Versus if it went to $10 in 10 years, right, at a time where the cost of everything had tripled in fiat terms, right? So you really can't say exactly what the burn plan should look like, but what you can say is, all right, if we hit like this threshold, then the endowment absolutely needs to go devise a burn plan, present that to the community, but also present to the community, or like let the community throw out other options that they might want to do with the tokens, right? Because again, there might be other incentive schemes or other things that the community as a whole thinks those tokens can be better used for. So ultimately, it's up to them what happens, because obviously that's why this whole thing's being created in the first place.
Right. And like you said, it depends on, like, we can put this $1 billion threshold, but why it's worth $1 billion and how that is relative to the price of everything else would make sense, would impact whether or not actually the right plan at the time to do a burn. So you can't, you just force it to hand, then you have less malleability as to making sure you're doing the right thing. So we have a 2 year, every 2 years, there's going to be a SIP vote encoded about this, encoded into the SIP. Would that be where the community would that be the course of where
the vote every 2 years is just like for the appointments of the Treasury Committee folks. So if
it would be separate.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the timing overlapped, it's always nice when you can run 2 votes at the same time, just from an overhead perspective. But like, if it was exactly, I don't think you'd wait an extra year. Like if it hit and kept growing and, people were feeling confident about what it was doing and they wanted to make the presentation, I don't think you'd wait a year or 18 months to do that vote. I think if it was 2 months out from the upcoming SIP vote anyways, yeah, then it would probably make sense to just do it together, because then you'd also get better turnout and things on them.
So it could be SIPs to change the endowment or any other, like any other SIP. It can be proposed at any time and then it goes through the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. That is basically most of the questions. I'm at my mental bandwidth here with all this stuff going on. Do you guys, anyone else have any more questions? Melanie looked like she has some.
Yeah, I just have one. My question is that, and I mean, you all know that how strongly I kind of support the arts, right? It's my background in real life, and it's kind of a lot of what I've been doing here. So I just want to know, how are we taking into account that the arts should be represented in the committee? And I know it's probably a question that's a little bit ahead of its time because we haven't started looking at the Treasury Committee, but just in case I don't get an opportunity to kind of speak for whatever reason, I just want us to kind of really be cognizant of the fact that we need to make sure that it's not just all kind of technical or builders focused, and just really kind of include those people. And there are a lot of them that are in the community when it comes to the creative side of things. So
thanks for the question. I can jump on this one. So I'm actually maybe slightly surprised to hear the question from you, because you were at all the workshops, right? And so we went we went through this process of establishing, both the things we wanted to see in all the nominees, what made them good, better, best nominees, as well as the framework for the diversity that we wanted to see in the appointments committee.
Yeah, I just want the people listening. Sorry to interrupt you, Mitchell, but anybody who hasn't had the opportunity to kind of listen in on that, just to kind of, because they're all very technical focused conversation, just to make sure that, because there are a lot of people listening, that people are aware of it, that they are being taken into account. So even though it might not be entirely for me, just to make sure that
you're setting me up here. I get it now. I appreciate it. No, so like I think that like that's why we spent so long on this process. I think that probably the word that was said the most throughout those sessions was like representation, right? Like our whole goal was to not only get the best candidates, but to have the best cross section, a diversity of representation, to make sure like each and every corner of the ecosystem felt represented. And we came up with like an actual framework for doing that, and then we matched candidates to that, and then we discussed and moved candidates in and out based on those frameworks. The other thing I would throw out is like there's been a number, like when the NFT community and then the inscriptions community blossomed on Stacks, those were all things that the quote unquote big players like leaned into and supported and funded in various ways and things. And so I think that it's like easy to get runaway train kind of thoughts sometimes in community. That's like normal. That's how memes work. So I don't ever want there to be like this sort of feeling that the arts are less important, because they're not. Like personally, that's why I'm actually in blockchain. It's why I got into blockchain in the first place. Some of you remember the Mintery. Like it's a program that I ran basically on my own time to like when NFTs were in their heyday, to try to help bootstrap the NFT community on Stacks. I think there's like a lot of projects that are a legacy of the Mintery that are still around. The Stacks Foundation directly, supports Gamma in a number of ways, and other, there was another, I'm totally blanking on their name, but there was another NFT platform around the same time that was also supported.
Tradeport.
What did you say?
Tradeport. It became Tradeport.
That's right. Thank you. That was going to bother me all day. So like even throughout, like when deeply technical stuff does have to take a focus for a while, there's been efforts to make sure that like artists have a place to go. And I'm really there's a little bit of remaining discussion on the appointments committee, but I mean, I'm really stoked about it. I think that it's an awesome cross section, and everyone there is so plugged into the community that they personally know people, and each of them knows people in every sort of corner of the ecosystem. And also, look, if we get to a point in the future where you or anyone else like sort of that's in that community's, hey, I'm feeling underrepresented, there's not something for us, I think that you have a new resource now. You can go to the endowment and say, look, I want to create like a D grants, but it's all about arts. Or I want to create an art-based accelerator and put a cohesive plan together and a budget and all that thing, and go run it yourself. Because we'll support that. The talent. Like I would say that right now the constraints on the ecosystem are capital structure, right? That's what this SIP addresses. But after that, the resource constraint is going to be talent and like people to go and do these things. Like that's actually my biggest fear with SIP 31 is like all of you are going to be like, you guys aren't spending this fast enough. Like you're not doing that, right? Because it's going to take some time to hire people. It's going to take some time to get people in places. And what I've actually been encouraging my team to do is like, go ahead and start thinking about that now. The people that show up day one of the endowment with a plan are going to hear yes a lot. And so I'd encourage the same thing of all of you. If arts or some version of that is like a particular, like you're worried about that or you're excited about that or whatever it is motivating you, put together a plan of like what you'd like to see. Give the endowment folks something to say yes to. That's going to be the biggest thing, because like all of us who already work here are already so tapped out, and it's not that we don't want to do more of those things. And so like, again, the shortage is talent. So if you can help us by finding the right talent or being the right talent, like we could only move faster, right? So and Mel, like anything you want to do on this corner, like you hit me up, DM me. I'll be your personal advocate, because this is, everyone knows it. It's like where I want to spend more time. I just don't get to a lot. So
that's the thing. And Such an amazing answer. Thank you so much, Mitchell. I just wanted to make sure that anybody who was watching didn't kind of have that or say anything to me about it. It's like, you know, you were there.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's important for me that everybody in the community knows that there is a passion directly in the foundation for the arts, because I know your background and your passion for the arts as well. So
yeah, and Ileana as well, right? She's a major player out in Europe on a lot of the like the influencer artist side, and brought in a lot of folks for the ministry. So it's definitely in our DNA. Like I said, it's not always something that we can spend all the time on, but you know, again, with
bring back the mentoring.
Yeah, with the New World Order, you know, like give us some, you know, give the endowment folks stuff to say yes to, come with a clear plan. And I don't think, you know, you might hear no at first just to make adjustments, but I don't think you're going to hear a lot of anything but hell yeah, go do it. Here you go.
Amazing. All right.
So,
Well,
just a quick related to this conversation and in general, what is the time frame? So I think we're looking at likely next week is when the voting is slated to start. Is that still?
Yeah. Really, all that needs to happen is, I think we have. I wanted to give, you know, basically 24 hours since the last of our sessions yesterday to like let the group kind of chew on, sleep on the appointments committee stuff that can get added to the SIP. I think anytime now. I was just maybe going to go respond in our chat. There's like maybe one objection remaining to kind of work through there. But then, yeah, the plan is to open votes Wednesday. Hero Gamer would have to give a more detailed update on where the cabs are at and all that. That would be, I think the cabs would be the only thing that would shift the timeline at all. But last I heard, they were on track. So
I understand they're on track as well.
Yeah.
And then I think in addition to that, we're looking at, you know, once the vote's out and that runs, once the vote's started, right, the thing's fully finalized and the vote's started, we can turn a lot more attention towards the implementation plan. And I think, so next week, I think Mitchell and I were talking about trying to get out a kind of like 60, 120, 180 day timeline of what's going to happen, what people should expect to see on it. You know, it will obviously take a little bit of time. By a little bit of time, I mean, you know, weeks or a month or two to like get a lot of the implementation done, to set up some of these new organizations and do it. But I think certainly the goal is that within like 90 days of the SIP passing, like funds should be being deployed.
Okay, so 90 days. Is it a 2-week vote?
It is.
Okay, so you got about 2 weeks, and then so let's say it's about 3 months. People that are really earnest and interested just start having their proposals prepared to present within like three to 6 months. Is that timeline reasonable?
Oh, I'd say probably shorter than that. Honestly, I mean, look, like I said this before on the spaces, and I'm sort of putting myself on the spot here, I guess, because I'll probably be helping with this. But like, whenever the hard fork happens and like an entity can be formed, like let's say that doesn't happen until, let's see, what is it? The end of June already. So let's say that happens like a month and 10 days from now, and we're looking at like August 1st. I think that, you know, mid-July to August, like there would at least be the capacity to start reviewing those grants. And I also know on some of the DeFi builder side, you know, we're already working on designing with them a retroactive grants program. And so I think if we can come up with, at least to start, like simple frameworks for some of these things that at least exist for the first version, we could move a little faster than 3 to 6 months, right? Like I'd like to be getting money out to people definitely within 90 days, if not 60.
Awesome.
Wow.
That's great.
So
I got to jump. But
you know,
thank you.
There's always surprises that come up. But yeah, thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Alex. Really appreciate it. Just want to give an opportunity for a final word from our guests. Alex, I know you have to jump, but if you have any last words before you want to go,
like I said, once again, thanks to everyone for all the engagement, especially like everyone in this group. You guys have done, I think, a great job being the source of a lot of these conversations. And, you know, next week, get out and vote. Show your support, show your disdain. Hopefully it's support, but just like making sure that we have a really good picture of what the community's feeling and sentiment on is really important.
Right on, right on.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. We're basically at the 2-yard line right now. So, everyone get out there and vote.
Push time.
It's up to the community to push this forward. So, I think that hopefully everyone understands all the work that went into this and, are happy with the direction Stacks is going in. And just get out there and vote.
stx.eco is where the vote happens. And we'll be shouting that out every day, often on here. We'll make sure that the vote gets out.
I just saw the from Mike, who runs that site, and we're almost ready. So that'll be up and refreshed, in the next few days here before the vote opens, obviously. But big shout out. I don't think he's on, but he always does a great job.
He told me he was ready 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well, He's
been waiting.
Yeah, I'm a planner, I guess. I probably hit him up first before the SIP was even written, maybe. So
yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Awesome stuff. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate all of your time today. Hero, any last words from you?
Economics cap has passed the vote, so it's just waiting for governance cap. Peace, I'm looking at you, so all eyes on your cap. So get in there. Conversation going.
Is there, So this will be my first vote, but I'm pretty sure that there's general consensus to pass it already. I just don't know what if there's a formal.
Yeah, I'm feeling like
I think it's just Wobo. We're just waiting on Jason.
Looking.
Oh, he's traveling.
Yeah, he's.
I don't think there's an issue. It's not going to be hung up in the governance cap. We're all pretty much. It's just not formally passed yet officially, but it should be.
Well, Hero, let me know if there's anything I can help with to get it to get them instructions on whatever the final vote piece is. I'm happy to help out today after calls, but sounds great.
All right. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Thank you all for tuning in. Another great episode of the Let's Go Morning Show. We had some great fine turn rounds. Shout out to Robin from Liquidium. It was a great time having him on. And thank you everyone for tuning in and turning out and making a great conversation that makes our ecosystem just that much more strong and viable. I am PeaceLoveMusic. We are DeOrganized Media, coming at you live on BitcoinLive every Monday through Friday, bringing you all the news and information we can. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Get out and touch some grass. Take care of business. We'll see you back all on Monday. Peace out.